Dun, 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 dun,
Maybe we could actually pay for some music. And I'll buy it.
I love that intro. I went through a ton
You love
of
this
free-
tablecloth too, so that
Hey, I bought this tablecloth. You watch yourself.
All right.
But that intro, I went through a lot of free music to find that free music.
Anyways,
Our kid will sing it every now and then. She knows exactly when it's our stuff.
that's hilarious.
Anyways,
What if we write a song?
I've had a lot of sugar today.
that's probably a bad
I apologize.
idea. We probably should not write a
I'm
song.
very bouncy today.
Bouncing
I've
off
had a
the
lot
walls
of
again.
sugar.
Whoa. Can't
Which is
see
why
that.
if you hear the ice in my water jug in a minute, it's because I'm trying to
in your
counterbalance.
juice jug.
No. It's actually way more water than juice. I just cannot drink plain water.
Gotcha. It's not gin and juice.
No,
Oh.
it's not. Although after the day I
Facebook
had.
user says hi, miss you. Let's find out who
Ooh, it might be Gina.
It probably.
It's probably-
is.
I don't know.
Ilana.
Gina's.
But it's
It's
weird.
Ilana.
It's Alana.
It's
Gina's
Ilana.
normally really good about putting her name after her posts.
Although lately it's shown up. Oh, look, it's in blue. It's the podcast that
Ooh.
Hey,
exists but doesn't exist yet.
And Kyle
Not
Phillips
yet.
said shit.
Oh, all right. So let's get our
Let's do two of our sponsors and
Sponsors.
then we'll bring our guests in and talk about our third.
okay.
Meh.
All right. So if you are looking for a high quality PVC rack, look no further than Lone Star Reptile Racks. They offer a variety of sizes for all types of snakes, geckos, rats, and more. You can even order something custom. Shipping is available, or you can plan to pick up at a Herps Reptile show near you. Visit lsreptileracks.com to reach out to Lone Star Reptile Racks and place your order today.
Tuesday, James Smith. But I have a shitload of people that have been waiting for a couple of months. So
By the way, that was a
I know
response.
they are so
That was in
excited.
response to when is Robert finally getting his PVC.
I know that you're
we got
excited.
our second confirmation today from the shipping company. That they're coming on Tuesday.
Robert's gonna be like one of those Middle Eastern sheiks. Like once that PVC comes in, just be like the richest man around.
I'm gonna come home every day with so much PVC in my beard.
You're gonna have so many people like contacting you wanting to buy PVC.
So today I was making holiday stuff for the farmers market that you guys are gonna help Rachel with this weekend. I guess. Well, if y'all aren't, you need to let her know because she's kind of relying.
Katie
on
was supposed to let her know that. I thought we were leaving early Saturday.
We'll figure it out.
Anyway, if she just needs to know, so she
Yes.
can line someone else up.
Yeah. Kyle Phillips, yes, he does white PVC.
Oh yeah, that's all I've been able to do lately. I was, it has all the little small holes like where the writing and stuff is, and I
Yeah.
can blow it out with the air gun. And
Yeah, you blow it.
I cut a full sheet of that today.
Nice.
So
Sounds fun.
when I was blowing all that out, we got ready to go to lunch, and I went into the bathroom to wash my hands. And I was like, "Holy shit!" I look like Santa Claus. There's so much white PVC in my beard, my hair.
Oh,
It's been rough though. It's
Heidi said the wood deer looked good.
They
Great.
are.
yeah. I got their shit. I already sold all those.
That's awesome.
I need to sell some rat racks though.
Kyle said he needs white. That way he can count the mites.
There you go.
Oh,
They've been rough this year.
They have.
Fucking mites.
So I just sold 2 more. So I have 3 more 6-tub rat racks, fully built, plumbed tubs, everything.
Yeah, so you need a rat rack.
And then I have 10 with no tubs, but water system. And then I have 2 or 3 that are plumbed for water, but no nipples.
No nipples.
No nipples, no tubs.
No nipples is no fun.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means.
The
Nipples
they're
are
priced
important.
accordingly.
You don't know what nipples are? I know you know what nipples are.
James.
They're the thing that water comes through. And for the route, what are you talking about?
I'm gonna hit you with my shoe.
I don't understand. I think we're having 2 different conversations.
And Heidi, wait till you see the Christmas tree I did today when we get it painted tomorrow. It's a 3D Christmas tree.
Ooh, how big is it?
Kyle Phillips. Kyle, that was like a lifetime ago.
I didn't even know you'd ever been on. I guess it was
I didn't
before
either.
me.
I know it
must
was
have been
way
before
before
us.
y'all. It was our first guest, or our first listener
Oh,
that we had on.
nice.
It was a lifetime ago when it comes to this podcast. But you were not a bad guest. I've not had a bad guest. Well, I take that back.
Nah.
You were not the bad guest. Everyone can go try to figure it out. Listen to all the episodes. See if you can figure out the bad guest. It's gonna be tonight's guest.
Whatever.
Before we get to that, let me go. Wiregrass Exotics, our friends over at Wiregrass Exotics, Dallas and Amanda Rua. If you're in Southeast Alabama or around Georgia, Florida, that area, go visit them in Ozark, Alabama. Check out their shop, see their hots. Get some feeders, tons of feeders. They have great deals for feeders. Wiregrass Exotics in Ozark, Alabama. Also, I just want to point out, and we'll talk more about them. I know they're not a sponsor, but I still love the sign. Every time I walk in here and I see it, it's amazing. So Focus Cubed, not a sponsor, but we got this from them. Focus Cube
They're
Habitats.
good people.
And we'll talk about them more in a little bit.
I'm sorry. This person's name on Facebook just made me shake.
Oh.
Her name is Precious Too Hot, but it's T-O hot instead of T-O-O hot. And then her comment. Anyway, I'm just going to stop.
We can get down people with Facebook later too. But let's go ahead and bring in our guest before we get to our other sponsor, because we can talk about our other sponsor with our guest. Our guest tonight, and I brought him in, there we go, is JT Tomlinson from Reptichip. How's it going, JT?
Hey, happy to be here.
So talkative. Could you please let us talk? Come on. Shush. So our other sponsor, our other sponsor is the Herp Reptile Shows, which if you're wanting to get ones into a show soon, there's only 2 coming up, right? There is Austin, December 4th and 5th.
Mm-hmm.
And there is Slidell, December 11th and 12th. That's it. And then it's the new year. And then we get...
I think we have like 2 weeks off at the beginning of the year, and then we start like 4 or 5 shows in a row.
Yeah, it's Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Longview, Texas, Conroe, Texas, and then like a week off, and then New Orleans. So yeah, Conroe though, January 29th, 30th. What?
Okay, maybe I didn't. Maybe I said it in my head. Okay.
You said something, but I had a parent text me, so
Yeah,
I got nothing.
But so the Reptile Show is coming soon. But what I really want to talk about is what we did this past weekend.
Yeah, it was fun.
3 of
It
us.
was so fun.
JT was there. We were at the grand opening of the Herps Exotic Reptile and Pet Shop. Like I got it.
You guys weren't there Friday night when we had dinner with Chris.
Oh yeah.
And he basically ran the people at the table off next to us with all of his bitches and hoes. And
Oh my god.
Chris, that's our buddy, Chris Eaton from Snakes and the Fat Man. He got to come down to Texas.
Bad company.
And then we realized we'd been done eating for like an hour and a half. And we looked around and all the table chairs are on the tables, and
They're
just like fucking standing there looking at us.
These assholes just go ahead and leave.
man.
So I just pulled a 20 out and threw an extra 20 on the table, and we left.
Oh,
So I was
man.
like, oh, we were just those people.
That's rough.
This weekend was, for a small shop, it was packed. And it was packed with vendors. Like all the Herps vendors were there, but there were a ton of people.
Oh, yeah.
They gave away, was it 50 Herps bucks?
I missed all that somehow.
It was the
There were 50 drawings.
The
that were
first
done,
50 adults
in.
So they didn't count kids.
And I think it was
10
only
minutes.
one per family.
Yeah, and it was in 10 minutes. They were all gone.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They wouldn't let vendors.
I hid in the turtle room for the first couple of hours because
See, and I was in the
don't like
Wallaby
crowds.
room.
That is,
Michael Pinnell and I both like looked at each other at the same time, and I was like, "There are too many people." And he's like, "Yep."
you know
Let's
what,
go outside.
You know what Michael Pinnell does really well?
clean window.
Clean windows.
They
Way to
were
go, Michael
so
Pinnell. Way to clean some
good.
windows.
but we were gonna try to get outside, but people were coming in, so we just like hopped into the Wallaby room instead, and we hung out in there for a while.
Yes, their store, in case anybody doesn't, has a Wallaby room. Literally
Michael
a room
was
with
in
a
the
Wallaby.
Wallaby room for a long time.
Joe was in there. Joe hung out. My
I'm
daughter
pretty
hung
sure
out.
our daughter was in there all day. Like I'm pretty sure she was like moving it.
The cool kids are in the tortoise room, though.
Yeah,
That's where
That's where JT hung
I
out.
was
with
JT
running
was
around for
there.
a while.
A little bit. I was only there for a few hours, but they got the Wallaby room, they got the tortoise room, they got the chinchilla room,
Yeah.
Mhm.
they got a break room where you guys were camped out doing
Mhm.
Yeah.
Lord knows how many interviews and stuff in there. They've got like 3 back rooms. I was surprised with the when you look at it from the outside, it really doesn't look that big, but it's like amazing when you get in there.
It's insane.
Well, and on top of that, they're planning on getting the space next to it in the
Mhm.
future. So they're going to expand.
It's
So it's
awesome.
going to be even more.
When the hell did the Howdy show up? After I left?
The Howdies there. Yeah, they were there after you left.
Huh.
They came by.
Oh, it must have been like right after you left.
We left about 3:30.
Yeah, it was shortly after that.
We got into a road rage incident on the way home.
Uh-oh. I didn't hear about that.
How'd that go?
I mean, he's here, so it
That's true. He shot,
ended well
he shot
for
the other
him.
person. They didn't shoot him, is what I'm hearing.
I ended up in front, so I won. That's how that works. He wouldn't even look at me. I got next to him and looked over, and he was just like this. He wouldn't even. This
He
little,
was-
little tiny Asian guy.
I was going to say, your truck was huge.
He wouldn't
and
even
he
look
was
at me, and I was like,
"I'm
God
So it's
damn
funny.
it."
Heidi typed in the thing. There's a bathroom full of Reptichip. There was
There was.
at the herb shop a bathroom full of Reptichip.
I had to talk about that with Sean. I was like, if you're lacking storage, we can cut down your numbers. No, man, I need it. Really? Because I know it absorbs odors and all that, but you've got like half a pallet in the bathroom.
It really was.
I should have just gone in there and built like a little castle.
Yeah,
There was enough of it.
Like,
That would have been like
Built
built
an
it all around the
igloo.
Around the
toilet.
toilet, a little
An
igloo
igloo.
around the toilet.
the toilet thrown. And I'm like, no, man. And then I went to go piss, push the handle down. The handle
broke off,
comes
didn't it?
off.
Did you
I was
break
like,
it?
seriously.
I had to fix it at one point.
So
I
I
fixed
broke it.
3 times when I was there. Yeah, I pissed 3 times, but I fixed it 3 times. All 3 times I had to fix the handle. I was like,
I had to reach in the damn tank and pull the chain up and fix it. And
Mhm. Yeah, Sean's mom Anita helped me fix it that morning because I was like, "Oh shit!"
I didn't know that I'm not the only one that
broke
broke the
toilet
fucking
right
handle.
before the store opened. Like I freaked out.
so don't use their bathroom. But other than that, awesome shop.
It's an awesome shop. Oh, so John Grant's on. I knew this. All the Reptichip in the bathroom is actually John Grant's.
Okay, so somebody said it's JT.
JT's. Yeah, no, it's the other JT.
And I
It's
was
not
like,
just JT.
JT sells this. Why would his
This is where he
stuff
stores
be
it.
in the bathroom?
That's his warehouse.
I don't understand.
You didn't realize that
Right.
the
Well, they were supposed
It
to
was,
Herb's
it
bathroom
was
is-
mine at some point.
yeah, yeah.
It's JT's and now it's JT's.
That's
But Lily was sick, so they
Yes.
Yes.
Saturday.
So we missed the Grants.
Oh,
We did.
that was
He
a good
supposed to do
time
something
though.
for me.
I was only there for a little bit, but we had a great time.
That
Like,
was
Yeah.
that was a blast.
So it was cool hanging out with all the vendors and not having to worry about talking to customers.
Yeah.
It
Yes.
really
Yeah.
was.
Well, we
And it was
started
like
when
we could get together outside and not worried about tables or selling anything or anything
Right.
like that.
And I still sold 2 racks while we were there.
nice.
I brought 2.
That's true.
those
You did
2
sell-
I brought 2 for a guy. And then when he got there, oh man, I only have the money for 1. Well, one of my really good customers was there. I looked at her, I said, "You want the other one?" She's like, "If it'll fit in my car, I'll take it."
For the first little bit while we were there, I did when it first opened. I started helping bag frozen rodents, and then I was a bad employee. I kind of quit on that. And
I
failed.
talked to several customers. I sold a couple of snakes.
Yeah, I talked to folks about some axolotls at one point. They're like, should we get an axolotl? We have little kids. Will they stress out? Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes, they will.
Because the axolotls are right outside the turtle room.
Yeah.
So every kid that would walk up like, oh, there's a Minecraft kid.
Oh man.
Poor axolotls.
Yeah, Minecraft is going to be the
The death
reason
of a
that
lot of
millions
axolotls.
of axolotls die in the next year.
So they're endangered in the wild. Minecraft will cause them to be endangered in captivity.
Right.
Really scary.
Yeah. So this weekend, Logan and I are going on that youth hunt.
Yeah.
They have freaking warthogs
Fuck yeah.
in that unit, and there was 4 killed last weekend.
Did you
and
get to shoot
3
one?
the week- Yeah. If
Oh,
we
hell
see
yeah.
them, I told Logan I don't give a fuck about a deer. I don't care about
I saw a
pigs.
fucked up looking deer on the way home.
I was like, we're going out there, and because I know the 2 units that they're in. We're going to try and get one of those units, and you're shooting a damn warthog. Because when do you get to shoot a warthog?
so I'm pretty sure I
Pretty
saw
cool.
a really sick deer like right here out of our neighborhood. It was dark gray and its face was bald.
Ooh.
I was like, that doesn't look right. And it was at 4:30 in the afternoon on the side of the road eating. I'm like, I don't think this deer is doing so hot. I was like, it's making bad decisions and it looks fucked up.
Yeah.
Bad decision.
That we all do.
I had a kid make
The
a bad
rut might have
decision
just
today,
been rough on him. I know the rut's been rough on me in my younger days.
and I made him
So-
cry.
So he might have just had I've seen bucks at the end of the rut where they're like one antler's broke off, they got scars all over their face from fighting, and they've just lost all this weight because they don't eat.
I beat the shit out of a deer during rut.
Yeah.
We used to have one at the zoo. I'd grab him by the antlers and shove his face in the dirt. And you do that a couple times, he leaves you alone. He's like, "Nah, I'm not gonna fight this guy." Also at the shop this weekend, since the Howdies were here, I did want to talk about them. We got to see firsthand the new display counter at that shop, which is one of the most amazing things to see. I know JT, you looked at it a lot when you got there.
Yeah. Very
Had that
cool.
the built-in fan system to keep it cooled off so it didn't overheat, especially at the top of the counter. It had like 7 trillion pounds of dirt inside of it.
Yeah, I would not want to try and move that thing.
No, I think it's not going anywhere. It's now permanently there.
I think
I would
Sean
be-
did a burrow in there. Like it was a very, not only did it look good from the outside, but it was a well thought out piece. Like you could tell it took a lot of thinking through things to put it all together. Rob's probably like, yeah, I got this. I could do it. But like, I'm like, man,
So
you
I-
really think about it. Like that's some serious
I don't know, because
No,
Steven, the way Steven's brain works on
Yeah.
how he designs that stuff is completely different
Yeah.
than like what Robert does on it's
I was looking at that and I'm like, I can't sit still long enough to design something like that.
Pretty
Yeah.
impressive, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just all of the all of the how clean the lines are and how everything just goes together. And
well, and he does all these like cutouts that go on top and
Right.
make for the design that just always looks so good too. And that thing was probably 8 foot long, 4 foot tall, and like 30 something inches front to back. And I think about had 18 inches deep of dirt in there for just 2 little Ackies.
and it's cool because I don't know if you saw, I'm sure you did, Sean's photos when they were putting
Yeah.
together all the tunnels and stuff. And
Yeah, he took
Yeah.
a venting tube,
Super
Mhm.
cool.
ran that down, then put the dirt around it. He put a hamster igloo hide. The tube runs into that, so the dirt doesn't fill that hole. And so they could dig down in there, and it holds the tunnels. And the female was out running about for a big chunk of the day.
Yeah.
But then it's got a heating panel in there. It's got a VivTech UVB bulb in there, which is awesome. It's got a heat bulb in there as well, and like I said, it's got built-in basically air conditioning for the top to keep the whole thing from overheating because they're monitors, and so they've got that radiant heat panel at like 120 degrees. So
Yeah,
was
that
just-
was impressive.
that was an awesome thing, and to see it in person, I've got to give the Howdies, every time I see them, I'm just amazed with what they're able to make. And again, it's kind of like it's kind of before we got on here, Katie was talking about how she didn't realize how big Reptichip was, right? And it is, y'all are everywhere, but when you think about it, it's really a small business based on people that work there, right?
Well, yeah, we have Reptichip centric. We probably have 4 full-time employees, and maybe some part-time work, but everything else is straight up distributors and reps that work for those distributors, but not an employment position. It's all just, sales to those guys.
Yeah. And so when you talk about like Focus Cube has done such a good job of getting their name out there. So many people in the hobby know who they are, but it's just the Howdies. It's Ashley and Steven. That's it. It's them and their little shop pumping out amazing high quality cages, and they've done such a good job. I tell Brent is another one that I think is great about that over at Venom Life.
Mhm.
It's just Brent and Woody. But like if you were to look at it, it looks like that's a huge company, and they've done such a good job with Brent and Woody. Well, I'll tell you that. It's really just Woody. And then Brent talks to people.
Brent's got the mind for it, though. He's like,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
Yes.
I've envisioned this, and this.
Yes. Now Woody, go make it happen.
When you get Brent,
There's a lot of that, but
when you get
he also,
Brent,
I think
in
he also
business
knows
mode.
exactly where he's going.
yes.
He's sharp.
When you,
He's sharp.
when you get him talking business, you realize
Oh yeah.
how freaking smart that guy is,
Yeah.
which we're actually supposed to do tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's supposed to be coming for lunch tomorrow.
He's he is one of those guys you're gonna have fun with. You're not gonna realize that he's as involved in business or has the fortitude for it as when you really get him on the business topic, and all of a sudden you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. Like I completely judged the book by its cover the first time I ever met
Yeah.
him. 100%. I was like, I'm not gonna like this guy.
He talks a lot.
And
Well, not like Brent once you talk to him.
I never really spoke to him.
Right.
And
From a distance.
and then he was on Snakes and the Fat Man.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, he said some inspirational shit. So I went up to him at the not this Lafayette, but the one before, and I told him that, and he about started crying. And we've been friends ever since.
He's the nicest guy.
Brent will be late for lunch.
The nicest guy.
Who said that? Because he's probably right. Because it was supposed to be yesterday, but his truck broke.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I am so it is kind of shocking when you think about at the Herp Show and all the vendors how many small businesses really started around this hobby, and all these people that you meet at the shows, and they're successful small businesses. Like I said, the Howdies, Reptichip, talk about Venom Life, your business. It's just all these people you see at the shows. You talk about, and you realize that they're doing pretty well, and they've started all these small businesses from really nothing.
Herb's Conroe was the original show, the first show that Sean did, and we I think Reptichip, and well, I'm just speaking for Reptichip, but Reptichip in particular probably owes Herbst Conroe a huge solid, because we kind of got a lot of traction there. We were also doing NARBC, but this is brand new, and we're, you know, and I was doing snakes and stuff at the same time. But as far as like the family unit that he quickly built with the Herbst community, it really does feel like a family, maybe like a disjointed, you know,
Very dysfunctional.
inbred.
Hey, you speak for yourself. I'm quite functional, thank you.
Well, there you go. Then, yeah, we're all functional, but
We just have
no, I
different
think,
definitions of functional. That's all.
yeah, it's everybody's different definition. But I think that Sean and Lori have deserve a lot of props for that, what they built, because you can see from day, like we haven't missed a show since day one. At least a Herbst Conroe show. I mean, I've missed plenty of other Herbst shows because he's expanded so quickly, but also diligently. He really has created something. So when you talk about a lot of companies kind of coming up from that, I think that Herbst has shown that they're like, that's big, that's legit. And he's not only created just a business, but he's created the following, the lifestyle, a culture, community, a real community behind it. So in that kind of environment, it's kind of, I won't say easy for businesses to flourish, but it definitely it definitely fertilizes or incubates businesses to be able to launch when you have that kind of, I guess, fertile ground.
Yeah. I mean, with Sean, yeah, he's a show promoter, but he's a show promoter who wants every single one of his vendors to succeed before he succeeds.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And that shows with, I mean,
Well, you saw him at Temple.
Yeah.
Did you? You weren't.
well, I've heard, yeah.
So at the end of the day at Temple on Sunday, he was just fucking devastated because that was the worst show ever for everybody. I mean, there was 5 people in the building at 4:00 on Saturday.
Yeah.
And
Although
he was like, I'm going to figure out why.
There have been some shows lately that have had 5 people all day long, not Herb shows,
No.
but some other shows.
And he figured out why. And Lafayette I turned around.
Yeah, Lafayette
as soon
did
as he
great.
figured it out. And he accredited a lot of what happened Saturday at the store to his, figuring out the advertising issue that was going on.
Well, they killed it at the store. Sales wise that day, they killed it.
Yeah.
it's a good launch.
Yeah. And like I said,
It was packed.
and it was nice. It was nice to see that. Like I said, it was fun for us because we got to hang out and we don't normally get to talk all day long,
Yeah.
Without having to stop and do a bunch of other stuff. So that was fun. And then just seeing, but that also tells you how it is at Herbst. And again, we gush on them all the time on the show and people can get over it. But the fact that so many vendors showed up that don't live near Bryan or College Station and don't live in that area, they just showed up just to be there for a few hours.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that wants to go to Bryan College Station,
I'll pay.
but we all did.
Yeah. I mean, that right there tells you a lot. And then James Bergoli was there, and that didn't hurt sales, which is amazing. I mean,
I know.
I had to see James Bergoli's ass while we were recording. Oh. So anyway, listen, we did.
As he types, he takes it hard. No, James did say in the chat, I can tell you firsthand, being a good friend of his heart hurts when he can't get the business for his vendors. He takes it hard. Shut up. He said all those things. And yes, 100%. I mean, Sean and that's why, I hear people that do some of the other shows. Some of the other shows are really good, but I hear some of them talk about how unorganized they are. And, I know what my tables are for January Conroe.
We know, yeah, months and months in advance.
Like I picked tables today for January Conroe. That's a month and a half away. I already know my tables for Austin, my tables for.
Yeah, there are other shows we've been told people walk in and they ask the show promoter where's my tables and then goes, oh, I don't know. Will these tables work?
Yeah.
And they'll just point in a random direction.
Yeah.
Like that's chaos.
Yep. So
So with that said, we also need to talk about Lori. A lot of that is because of Lori when it comes to tables and all the organization and all that.
Yes,
is Lori
for sure.
So who we're gonna force to be on there. We got her on the podcast.
You did.
You already left, but she was on there a little bit for our bonus episode that we recorded while we were at Herbs, which has the fun ambiance sound of people in the background buying shit.
Yeah.
And James Bergoli's ass and JT leaving at one point.
Oh, really?
JT's on there for like 2 seconds. You can hear him in the background saying bye. But so anyways, back to Reptichip. Let's talk about Reptichip a little bit because you've had several things lately, and JT brought it up. Other JT, John Grant. We'll just go with John Grant. Brought it up in the chat talking about the boxed cocoa, which is a new thing you had started, and we talked a little bit about it this weekend. So I guess explain the whole reason for that because it's different than what everybody's used to when it comes to Reptichip in the bags.
Well, we've had so when we process the coconut, we'll go through. The guys have like made this into a science, and by the guys, I'm talking about like Austin and Matt De La Rosa. Those names probably ring a bell with a lot of people.
Yep.
So those guys are like coconut geniuses, right? Like I literally said, build this, and they just took off on it. They built this whole, they built contraptions for everything. We've ordered some commercial stuff in the meantime, but it started off with them just giving a general, like, hey, this is what I want to see. You guys figure out how to make it happen, and here's your budget. And they took that and they ran with it. Nowadays, they come back to me and they're like, hey, look, I don't know what's going on overseas, right? We have this density issue with the baby chip. The baby chip is coming in, and they're like super like scientific about it now. They're like, baby chips.
They're now scientists.
I know, right? They're like, it's lighter, and I'm like, what do you mean it's lighter? And they're like, well, I mean, we can weigh it, but like when you're looking at chips, it's like, whatever. 0.3 nanograms lighter than it was before. I'm like, holy shit. Like and so the way it works is they've done a lot of sifting, and they use a lot of fans and a lot of contraptions that they built that work. They're genius. But they've gotten to the point where they're like, they will turn a block, and we use blocks. We use just a regular breeder block for everything that we do for Reptichip. They can literally turn that into about 20 different products. So we have our main products out of that, and then we kind of have some side products. And like, for instance, one of those side products is what we call short strand fiber, which is an inch and a half just fiber. And it's not 100% to my liking to where we would put it in a consumer package and sell it as fiber to whatever industry. It could be, reptiles. It could be, it's a huge demand for it, and like bromeliads and high-end orchids and stuff like that. Even like, I don't know, bird people like it because they'll use it for nesting material and stuff. But I'm like, well, no, our dust content's still a little bit, not exactly where we want it to be. Give it 3 months. And the guys are like, no, sell it. I'm like, well, I'm not going to put it in a pack. Here's what I'll do. If somebody wants it, I'll figure it out. And sure enough, like everybody that comes by, because we'll sell Reptichip out of the warehouse, and we'll sell, we have rats and all types of stuff going on. But people that come by and they'll happen to see a product, they're like, what are you doing? Like, it's just sitting off on the side. And they're like, what are you doing with this stuff? We're still working through it. And they're like, oh, dude, I want that. And I'm like, well, right now it's not quite ready. So they're like, well, how much would it cost? And then people, people online heard about it, and they're like, look, hey, check it out. Just throw it in a box and send it out to me. I'm this is not a professional. I don't feel right sitting. And they're like, dude, can you just do it? Okay. So kind of just have a side thing going like, okay, well, here's fiber, but it's not dust free. So if you want fiber, there you go. And then it started building into like chips and fiber. And then it was more of a Reptichip type of mix that's a little bit cleaner. And so we kind of have a tier system with that. And now it's about to go to just assorted chips that aren't sized. So all different types of chips that are dusted and everything. So now, I don't know, it's kind of taken off, and it's kind of just, you gotta, at some point, you just got to do what customers want and not worry so much about what your vision is. If people want it, then so be it.
Yeah, I use the regular Reptichip, which I actually bought a bag at the herp shop this past weekend. I tried the
I know a
baby
guy. You should just.
You bought it, but where is it still sitting?
Oh no, it's
On
still
the
sitting
stairs.
downstairs.
Sit-
I almost
Oh,
grabbed it and carried it up with me when I
Tucker,
was
you
coming
should
up.
have brought it. I've been waiting for somebody to bring it.
Well, when I came upstairs, I brought up Robert's chair.
That's one hand. You
I-
could have carried the Reptichip in
I
the other.
had my drink in my other hand.
Oh, whatever.
See. Mhm.
Shit sits on my stairs for days
Well, then you
before
should bring it
anybody
upstairs.
else brings it upstairs. No, someone else can bring
Oh,
it.
if I change shirts downstairs, it's hanging on the banister probably till Rachel puts it up.
God.
But anyways, I was saying I use the Reptichip, but I bought when I got that that focus cube cage. Well, I say when JT somehow got me that
John Grant
got me that focus cube cage, and I put the house snake in. I wanted something smaller than the Reptichip, so I bought the baby chip, and
We already talked about your Reptichip in the bathroom, Big Girly.
and mixed that in with some dirt and everything. I really like the baby chip. That stuff's really awesome too.
Mhm.
The smaller stuff.
I'm impressed. There's a lot of people that use it for a lot of different things. Like I mentioned, like the orchid people now. Like the reason we the reason why we started creating the product of Reptichip. Reptichip was essentially just all we were going to do is remove fiber and dust from the breeder block, and the size of the chip really didn't matter. Started doing that, and because some of our consumer I guess information was coming back like, hey, we just want it fiber free. Okay, so we started making different sizes of chip. It was originally just all Reptichip, and like the orchid people and like it just took off with them too. So like, and now people love like the microchip and the baby chip and some of the Reptichunk and the Reptichip, which is just like a medium-sized chip that's sorted and graded and was our original, like, hey, this is what we targeted. And it took us a year and a half to get there. Like, that's just like a baseline product. Reptichip bagged, which is still a cleaner product than the block. If you break it down, we're still blowing out dust and stuff, but it has fiber and different size chips in it. Reptichip bagged product exceeds sales volume of Reptichip. Reptichip is probably our like lowest end seller. I mean, still does really well. But like we're like that was the whole reason why we started doing it, and it just shows how diverse the market is. Like there's a lot of different applications for it, so it's kind of taught me something along the way.
Gina mentioned she uses her Reptichip with her isopods, and I do too. I use Reptichip mixed in with
me
my
too.
isopod dirt because it holds moisture, and so it's great for holding moisture in your isopod dirt.
Yep.
Might try microchip for that too. A lot of people like microchip with isopods, which is a very, very small chips and fiber mix.
Yeah.
It each their own. The beauty of it is like we're getting to the point where people are like customizing blends.
That's so cool though.
Yeah, it is really cool. We may be introducing, I don't know, we do experimentation with everything we do. So like the research and development, even before the block came to market, we had 9 months in with different blocks and different coconuts. So that is one thing that we've always, I feel like we're solid at. We put a lot of time and effort into making sure what's coming down the line is real. We may be bringing in a different type of product and then potentially mixing it as long as we can capture the benefits of coconut and this other product. So I think there's a lot of things kind of in the pipeline for Reptichip.
Well, one of our
Cool.
questions we asked this week, I think will go along with a lot of that. We did ask our listeners, what is a major change you would like to see with commercially available substrates in the hobby? A lot has changed, especially a lot of the coconut and everything has really changed a lot. People have really switched to that. It's fixed a lot of humidity issues for people that people have had in the past, and not everybody's having to use aspen for everything anymore, and the animals not shedding. But some other things we got were Brandon P said, I'd like to be able to buy Reptichip. And again, this without me mentioning Reptichip at all in the post. So I'd like to be able to buy Reptichip at any pet store. The more beginners would see it, and hopefully use it too. I'm a huge fan of Reptichip. And then John Grant said most mom and pop stores do carry Reptichip, at least most that are worth their salt do. Which is true.
He does.
Yeah, he does too.
Or they do.
That's your
Not
Callie
just
Grant.
him.
Callie Grant. Don't leave
She
Callie
will
out.
cut you.
She is 50 to 75% of that operation.
Yes. And if you go to the bathroom at the herb shop, you can pick up some too. And it's John Grant's.
Yeah,
Just go and get it. It's already paid for, I'm sure. So how about it?
I think the thing about pet stores is when we launched Reptichip, we do things very asymmetrically. So typically a manufacturer or a brand might just try to get as much traction as possible. So they'll go try to appeal to big box stores. And what happens when you appeal to big box stores is they will eventually direct you to a regional distributor of products like Central Pet. I don't know if anybody's familiar with these. There's big regional controls over.
Yeah, there's like 3 big reptile companies, our animal care product companies.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing wrong with that. They do a great job at what they do. However, I didn't want the company to be beholden to anybody but me, basically. I don't. Once you start getting in bed with larger companies, you have much less control.
Yep.
We have 100% control over who the product's going to, where the product's at, what people are paying for it. Like the other deal is once you get in bed with other companies, they have a lot of leverage and manipulation over you and your product. So those were always big concerns. The biggest thing for me though was why are we going to outsource when we have a loyal customer base just based on the product? So why don't we just build our own distribution network and use the actual vendors, the distributors, the people that already love the product? Why don't we incorporate them into our program so that they're profiting off of it, not some big corporation? So that's really at the heart of the organization is we developed the Reptichip distribution network. And that is, if you talk about value in an organization, that values people over product, that values relationships over business contracts, that values your network over corporate desires.
Well, and you go that route, that it really tries to fix a problem that wasn't a problem. If you're trying to get into big box stores, that was not really a problem for you getting your product out there. I feel you've done a pretty good job of getting it out there.
Right.
And then I'd also worry that doing that you'd lose the Reptichip name, because you watch a lot of stuff when it gets into big box stores. It ends up getting relabeled later on, and it's not what it originally was, or the name gets changed, and you kind of lose yourself there.
Lots of influence over. If you're trying to build something real now, it's its own avenue, right? If you want to sheerly profit off of something, and there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you don't mix qualms about what you're doing. right? So if your only bottom line is, money or whatever it is, there's definitely a great avenue for you in that kind of thing. I think we wanted to build something bigger. I think we want to incorporate the community in what we're doing. I think I see when I came into the industry, I saw it was very disjointed. People didn't want to work together. People generally were kind of out on their own. Nothing wrong with that, but there's a lot of benefit in working together on something. And so when I started doing ball pythons full time, we started building, a collective of guys and gals that kind of vend together, kind of have the same interests, kind of want to appeal to the public the same way, have kind of the same morals and stuff. And then from there, building Reptichip, exact same thing. We want to incorporate, we want to include people rather than exclude people.
Yeah.
Yep. You've heard some of that before, haven't you, James?
Which part?
Some of the things you're saying are exactly how I feel about business.
Yeah.
100%. I've worked at some terrible companies, and I've worked at a couple of great companies that treat their employees truly like family and treat their customers like family. And that's what I strive to do as well. And maybe that's why you and I got along so well right off the bat.
I think we did.
Well, the problem is,
like our whole crew over here, like anybody that I'm hanging out with, if I'm spending time with them, they're sharing the same. We're really blessed here in Texas. I don't know what it is about us, but like we have the best damn people, and they all kind of share the same vision. They're not out for themselves. They're out for a lot of different reasons, but we're pretty damn inclusive.
I agree, 100%. Our first Herp show, we walked in, we went to the right, spoke to James, and made a left and spoke to you, and stood there I think Rachel stood there for 40 minutes talking to you, and we walked off, and she goes, "Who was that?" And I said, "That's the guy that owns Reptichip. He just talked to me for 40 minutes and has no idea who I am." I was like, "Well, must be a good dude," and turns out I was right about that.
Yeah, well, jury's still out, maybe, but we just have good people.
It might still be out for you, but a lot of us, we like you.
Well, see, that's the funny thing. Like, when you're new to this hobby, there's a handful of names that always get thrown around for certain things. So, like Justin Kabilka's name gets thrown around.
Yeah,
right. Chris is pretty well known for his podcast. A lot of people know Snakes and the Fat Man. Everyone knows Reptichip, and if they know Reptichip, they know JT. So if you're new to the hobby, those names seem huge, which we've always talked about. It's weird. We're a very small hobby when you think about in the large scheme of what's going on in the world. We're very small. So when we talk about famous people in the hobby, they're really fucking nobody.
Well, 6 to 8 months ago, I didn't even think Chris Eaton would do our show, and now I consider him to be a good friend.
So it's
so
when you get into the hobby, like
all relative, right? It's all relative,
right?
Well, I think people just need to learn
relative. Like who, if you weren't into snakes or anything else, it's just another guy on the street,
right?
Yeah,
right.
Like, it's all relative. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I fanboy over all those guys. Like, I call up Kabolka for advice, and he's kind enough to, shoot the shit with me for a little bit, but like when people say the same thing about me, doesn't register, right? It's just like, really?
Yeah.
Well, and I think more people need to realize, if you're at a show and you see one of these people, whoever it is, the name that you've been like, oh my God, just go say hi to them.
Right.
Because they're just a person. Like Justin Kabilka, don't get me wrong, he has built a massive business, and he is #1 in ball pythons, and he's the name he's still just a dude named Justin that owns some snakes.
Right.
So that's not just with the reptile world, though. That's with everything.
That's the world in general.
Because I had that moment a few years ago.
For who?
It was when my mom and I went to the International Quilt Festival. Shut up.
Fucking
Leave me
old people
alone.
shit.
I can't help it. But
Legit.
I met one of my favorite designers, and she was like, take a selfie with me. And I took a selfie with her. And then she was like, here's my cell phone number, text it to me. And I'm just like hyperventilating because she's giving a complete stranger her cell phone number.
How
quilt maker.
how dangerous could someone at a quilt convention be?
Hey, look, those ladies may all be in their 60s and 70s, but there were some young people walking around.
That's
Right.
That's
In
all.
their
See,
40s.
it's all
Think
relative,
about that
right?
the next time I
Yeah,
make
right.
you something.
Nobody else knows. When
Yeah.
I was overseas contracting, and the year before I was in the military, and the year before my boss's 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 boss was a 4-star general. I think it was Petraeus at the time, and General Petraeus, like it was ingrained at us, like we kind of got tested on this stuff. Not really, but there was times where we'd go through some events or whatever, and you needed to know your shit or you're just going to get kind of smoked. Anyway, a year later, I'm out of the military. I'm doing private contract work and just so happened to be guarding the president of Afghanistan. And Petraeus has a meeting with our, with Karzai, or the president of Afghanistan, our protectee, and he starts walking in with a sidearm, with a Beretta. I was like, "Hey, sir, you can't bring that in here." And he's like, "No problem." Checks his weapon at the door and keeps going. And I'm like, relative, right? Like
Right.
a year ago, I wouldn't have ever talked to that guy. Like, that guy is so far above me, it's not even feasible for me to mention anything to him. And a year later, tell him an American general, an American
Sir,
general
those stars don't mean shit. I need your gun.
can't walk in to our American imposed Afghan leader, with a sidearm, because we don't trust him with a sidearm, right?
Right.
You look kind of fishy. I don't know what you plan on doing.
All relative, right? But
Like-
it was my job, and he took it. He was good.
Handled
but
it well. He
He
handled
handled
it
it well, and I tried to handle it well, because I was like,
Inside, you were going, "Oh shit! I gotta tell this guy I need his
I
gun."
know. I'm like, oh, fuck, man.
When I was a rookie sheriff's deputy on the streets, we had a triple homicide. And they're like, stand here, don't let anybody in, write down every detective that comes in. You got to do a chain of custody. And leadership shows up because it's triple homicide. We never have that, blah, blah. And they're going to come in and just walk around while the crime scene guys. And I'm like, I'm not supposed to let anybody in that's not investigating. And he's like, well, I'm the major over this division. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to need a supplement report from you then if you come into the crime scene. I haven't written a report in 10 years. I guess I'll just stay out here. And I remember my sergeant came to me later and was like, did you fucking tell Major Benson he couldn't come into the crime scene without giving you a supplement?
That was the rules.
That was the rules, man.
That's
He was
right.
like, well, I see him today. And he's like, I respected that from minute one when you wouldn't
I
let me
love
in the
it.
crime scene, that
Yeah,
I didn't need to
absolutely.
have he said, I didn't need to have my fat ass in there anyway.
Just being nosy.
Right. I just wanted to see the dead people,
Oh my God.
No, absolutely, right? You were doing the right thing.
Right.
That's all you knew.
But like I said, in the hobby, when you're at a show, I remember going to my first Daytona, and Katie was there with me at my first Daytona, and
Good times. Good times.
it was.
It was a long time ago.
I saw those people and thought of them as, oh my god, those
Like 20 years ago.
yeah, now 20 years later, I'm like, fuck, they're just people. Because like Ralph Davis was there, and Bill Clark was there, and
Well, it was really
and
fun.
Nerd
Like
and all that.
it was really fun. Like 3 years later, when we went on our honeymoon, and I had just finished reading the book, The Lizard King.
Oh, and all the people's
And
names
like
that were in there.
all these people were in that book, and I was like, "What the fuck is happening right now?"
She's reading the book. She goes, "Wait a minute, do I know this name?" I'm like, "Yeah, you've seen him before."
and
in
I was
person."
like, "It was crazy."
Tom Crutchfield got his.
Yes.
Yeah.
So our Facebook user, I don't actually know who it is. I'm really sorry. It says, when I see someone from the hobby at a show, I don't want to feel like I'm wasting their time with questions they probably hear all the time. And I 100% get that. because I am that person at a reptile show where I'm like, because like you guys tell me all the time, well, yeah, but you're a reptile person. No, I'm married into this shit. Let's
You're still
just
a
be
reptile
real.
person.
I am a reptile person to a point now.
You have a MBK.
I do. She's so pretty. It only took almost 20 fucking years to get her, but it's okay. I have her. But I 100% understand that. But I can also say, being the person on the other side of the table, I would much rather you ask me that question that I've already heard 30 times that day than walk by and not ever ask.
I'll tell you, most people that become well known aren't bothered. Decent people are not bothered by someone noticing them. It was funny. We were at the Lafayette show, carrying something to the door, and the dude turned around and goes, "Do you guys have a podcast?" And we're like,
"What?"
I was like, the voices sounded familiar.
He had pre-ordered
Damn,
2
I
racks
missed
from
it.
me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had no clue that it was that's what I was.
But he heard us talking behind
Yeah.
him, and he
Hey.
realized.
That's what happens when I'm on the front register.
Well,
Yep.
and, I mean, some of the best people that like we talked about Emily before at Snake Discovery. She's one of the best at this. I've watched Emily try to walk through an expo, and it's
Oh,
nearly
God bless
fucking
her.
impossible for
Yeah.
her and Ed to make it through an expo.
I
Right.
felt so bad
When
that
she
day.
starts at an expo, you'll see her. She's covered with like a hoodie, no Snake Discovery stuff on, can't see her face.
Because at that point, you like have to check yourself, and you're like, "Wait, is that?" And so you're like second guessing
She's already
whether or
gone
not
by
who
the time.
who you saw walk by or
Mhm.
whose voice you heard, and yeah.
But I've also watched when she's not covered up, and she will stop and talk to every little kid that wants to take a picture with her.
or every adult.
Every adult. Tracy, Renee, who is in the chat
Yeah.
somewhere.
Totally fangirled on her.
Tracy was standing behind me at the table when
Are we going to talk about fangirl moments? Because we can totally talk
One
about
second,
James and his.
I'm making fun of Tracy first. So we were at Conroe, and Emily walks by, and she goes, "Is that Emily?" I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "What?" I was like, "Go say hi to her."
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, "I've talked to her. She's fine." So
We ate dinner with her.
yeah,
in
she ended
Tinley.
up going off to say hi to her. She has a picture with her. She was
Yeah.
I remember
excited.
when you first started the podcast and y'all had Joe on, you and Carly did, and he was like, y'all were at Tinley and Carly kept fangirling, and Joe was like, "They're just fucking people."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
just fucking people.
Right.
That's all right. James had his fangirl moment, and I'm
Who?
pretty sure it was a Conroe show
Who?
when someone told you,
Oh, because that's Tracy Barker.
it doesn't matter. You still fangirled.
I'm
You were
a
on cloud
huge
13.
fangirl of Tracy Barker.
Right. How can you not?
How can you not be a fangirl of Tracy Barker?
I didn't know who she was, but her and I had a lovely conversation just about life in general.
She told me my
Amazing.
snakes look amazing, and I'm telling you right now, it's the highlight I've ever had of keeping snakes. I've had lots of
I
stuff
believe
happen.
the word used was flawless, if I remember correctly.
Go
Go ahead, toot that horn, baby.
It was. I do love Tracy Barker. I mean, when the person literally wrote the book on.
Oh yeah.
I'm with you 100%.
Well, then when he told me who she
Good
was, I
day.
was like, "Oh, that's cool."
And
I
then
feel you there. All day long, every day. Tracy Barker, total fangirl.
She comes up to
Mhm.
what, your hip?
yeah, she's
Yeah.
an itty bitty woman,
Yeah.
right?
In
Well,
fact,
doesn't help that he's taller than you are. I mean,
Not by much.
oh
the
no,
first
he is.
time the first time I ever even met / was introduced to Tracy Barker, there was a guy at a San Antonio show that was like super cheap on everything. Probably 8 years ago. And he was just kind of blowing out a bunch of nice animals, and they were really decent. And I'm like, okay, how much for all of this? I'm a customer, right? How much for all of this? And he's working me up a price, and I'm literally like this, how much I want all of this. And this little lady walks under my arm with a checkbook, like already writing a check. And I was like, the fuck's this bitch? Like, and the guy behind the table was like, anything for you, Tracy. What do you need? She's like, she bought everything. I was like,
You know who she reminds me of? And I really hope that she like secretly listens to our podcast. Have you ever seen The Incredibles?
Oh, the no capes woman.
She's the designer that everyone worships, and she's tiny, and I'm sure she's feisty as
Mhm.
shit.
Oh,
She's
I've
just
heard-
such
I've
a
heard stories of
cool
younger
lady. Like
She-
she's so
he
cool.
watches UFC.
See,
Does she really?
Yes.
Yep.
100%. I love it.
Yep.
Love it.
Oh yeah, she's into just interesting. I mean, you talk about judging a book by its cover. If you like, you would think little old lady. No, there's a lot going on with
Oh,
I
yeah.
love it.
But like I said, she's one that, I mean, she doesn't do a lot of shows now, but if you do catch her at a show, she'll talk to you. I mean, if you've got
Girl
something,
power, man.
if you've got something to talk about, she'll talk to you. I sit there and talk genetics about snakes with her for a while. And
It's sad, like 90% of everybody in the hobby now probably doesn't have a very good clue who Tracy Barker is.
it's a shame.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's
And that's
so
a legend that's like sitting there at the table,
well, one of the first kind of big people in the hobby I met, I didn't realize was a big person. It was a very small show. It's where I bought my first snake ever.
Mm.
And they did these little, every 30 minutes, they did these little educational talks. And it was Kathy and Bill Love. And if anybody likes corn snakes, Kathy Love is like, at one point, was the person.
She was Miss Corn. I mean, right? She wrote the book on corn.
Yes, she wrote the book on it. Has the more. I've got several of them on the bookshelf.
Yeah.
And it was just her sitting at this little table, and then she'd go up and talk about corn snakes, and her husband's talking about his trips to Madagascar that he does. And I'm like, and then I went to Daytona a year or so later. I was like, oh shit, I remember her. That woman's way bigger than I thought. She was in the hobby. But I mean, Joe's had her on his podcast. He talked to her, and she's very down to earth. But that's another name that just disappears into the ether. Like no one.
Yeah.
She was huge. Like that. When it came to corn snakes, she was huge.
Yeah, most of these youngsters coming up now, they don't know who Ralph Davis is. They don't know
he was, and
Bob Clark is.
Ralph Davis was like the king when it came to ball python.
Right.
He even had a crown on.
You didn't do anything without reading his journal before. You remember that? Like where you're like, he had like rock star parties.
Right.
And you were like, ooh, what's going on lately with the journal? I hatched out some phantoms. It's like, wow. That's amazing.
I just those names I feel like need to stay in the hobby. We are not where we're at now. There's not some dude buying a blue-eyed Lucy for almost fucking nothing, keeping it in a shoebox under his bed now, without those people doing it when they cost $50,000.
Well, have you listened to Chris's latest episode with Albie Scholl?
I haven't.
No.
It's probably one of the best episodes ever.
Is it?
And they talk about how Ralph would show up at like Daytona in a sports car with like 4 models, and party all weekend, and he was selling the dream. They said, I mean, Albie even says that nobody sold the dream better than Ralph.
Yeah. What do you like?
Pete Cole.
Yeah.
Pete Cole was. But you would have to be there because he wasn't the online guy, right? You would have to be at Daytona or actually just Daytona, I think.
But Pete's name will live around because of albino boas. His name is stuck to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But I mean, he's done so much more than the albino boa. That's just where his name's stuck. I mean, pieds and everything else.
Yeah. I mean, piebald's like whatever, probably maybe arguably the most prolific or popular ball python morph. And everybody that knows ball pythons knows an albino and they know a pied. And pied sticks out, right?
Well, and like we talked about Kabilka being the big name in ball pythons, he's relatively new when you talk about these other guys we're talking about. When you're talking about
compared to these guys, yeah.
I mean, Kevin Curley and Ralph Davis, but
he's also lasted and been relevant, right? Like because
his business, the way he looks at it in business, is different.
His business model is the business model. Like if you aspire to be in ball pythons, study him. Don't study what he produces. Study how he does it because he is the brilliant mind in business infrastructure, in like future operations, like where industry is going, what you need to do to market and not only succeed, but be cutting edge. That is, and we all get into it. We love the animals and he is brilliant at what he does. That's another thing is he has that vision of, putting things together. But at the end of the day, we can all fanboy over his animals or in his combos and stuff like that. But what you got to ask people is, do you think you see the stuff that he fails at?
Oh, I'm sure there's tons of shit he's failed at.
He's got to, right?
There's no way to have that kind of numbers.
nobody hits every time, all the time. He's going to show you what he hits. He's smart. He's going to show you what he wants you to see, right?
And he's not showing it to you till he's produced a bunch of them.
Well, yes and no, right? Like I think that's one thing about being cutting edge is the volume drops off. Otherwise, if you're producing to sell, you are going to produce those powerhouses and be able to, and he can't do that.
Yeah.
He can't do that because he has to continue being cutting edge. So there's two things. And so when people come in and into the industry and they're like, how am I ever going to compete with Kabolka? You're like, no. You won't. Nobody will ever compete with him because
his business method is sell 3 snakes, make 150 grand, not sell 300 snakes to make 150 grand.
I mean,
but his 3 snakes changed the whole hobby.
He doesn't. I mean, let's face it, Kabolka's not going to have to ever. He's going to sell everything every year, but that's because he is cutting edge. And he's so far ahead, right? He's going to keep that edge. He's going to continue investing. And the guy puts his money, you talk about somebody that puts their money back into the industry, like he's buying animals, selected animals from the industry that, maybe a small breeder, maybe, whatever it is. Same thing with Aussie. You could say, like those guys, they have slightly different business models, but they are both absolutely brilliant about what they do. And they are getting the return on what they've put in.
Yes.
And when we say, well, it must be nice, I've heard that kind of thing before. I hear that with Reptichip or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, it must be nice. But when you look at those two, those guys have been in 20 years, like slugging it out. Do you think they started where they're at? It always gets to me, like that entitlement, that must be nice thing. Yeah, those guys started where you're at.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the must be nice comes from jealousy and a hint of knowing that you're lazy. Because when you see someone who has achieved what Justin has, and they're at the very beginning, they can be there. Someone can get. You may not be able to get there right now, but you can get close. Right? But it takes effort. It takes effort.
You can make a brilliant lifestyle out of it, right? There's nothing holding you back. What I love about this industry is one, I won't say it eats its own, but if you're in it just solely for money, you're not going to last very long because it's nowhere near as easy as it looks. 2, you are going to have to be smart and you're going to have to make good financial and business decisions. You're going to have to bring everything. You have to bring it all, right? If you want to be at the cutting edge, you're going to have to bring it all to fruition.
Yeah.
And if you are just good at everything you do, you're not the best at anything, but you're above average at, you care about customers, you want to build a business, you want to do it right, you don't focus on back end, not everything that's sexy. You could have a regular, boring, drum of the mill business, and you can make a good living off of this business because it's not as hard as we want to make it out to be. It's not compared to any other business in the world. Any other business, and I've been in 100% other businesses. This is not a hard business to get into.
No. The barrier to entry is not high at all.
Nope. Doesn't take a lot to breed animals. It doesn't take a lot to, market yourself, treat people fairly. Just do what we're supposed to be doing in life, like treat other people well, take care of people.
I think it takes a couple of things that are not tangible physical things. It takes one, effort. Everything in life to do well, I think, takes effort. The other is a vision. It takes a vision because when you look at, we talked about Ralph Davis selling a dream, and he was great at it. That is not the same dream that Justin bought. He did not do business that way, and that's not a knock on any of those guys in the early 2000s who did business that way. There was a lot of, I remember seeing ball pythons for $50,000, $60,000, but realizing that no one was actually. I say no one. A lot of folks weren't actually paying that for him. It was Ralph trading Kevin a $50,000 snake for a $50,000 snake, and then at night they were going out and having a lot more fun than others. Whereas Justin did not run business that way. He is not spending money on what Ralph Davis and all of them were at a show on Saturday night. That's not where his money's going.
Right.
He's going to put it back in. He's going to build that business. He had a vision of where it needs to get to and what he needs to do to get there.
And he probably ate a lot of ramen noodles.
Well, he's a rock star now, right?
Yeah.
Like, fast forward 15 years. Like, I mean, Justin, when he was coming, and I remember, a lot of people remember Justin kind of just watching. You can kind of watch as he was. I remember Ralph Davis even talking about Justin, one of the deals that they were doing. Okay, this guy's on the map. I remember Justin like at shows buying yellow bellies, just online stuff, not in person, but online stuff, buying yellow bellies because yellow bellies was, we realized that yellow bellies were making ivories and that was like the new thing, right? To see how far he's come in really a short period of time is a testament to not only is he a brilliant, well, he does a lot of things brilliantly, right? He does marketing especially brilliantly, but organization, like, I don't know, he brings everything to bear with it. But it's not, he's smart enough to know when he's like, I will bring it to my limit, and then I'm going to hire a very specific expert in this field. That takes some superior intelligence and knowledge to be like, hey, I'm really, really good at this, but to get this much better, we're going to have to, we're going to throw out an incremental amount of whatever funds into this or whatever. He knows where his limits are. And I mean, like, I could sit here all day long and talk about Justin. He's just such an impressive person. On the side, he races cars and does stand-up comedy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's an impressive person.
Yeah. Look, and I'm one of those where, like, the snakes or whatever, I just want his facility. That facility, every time I see videos, I'm like, that's amazing.
It's all him though, right? It's all well thought out. It's like for 10 years, you're thinking about exactly what do you want to put together. And he did it.
Yeah. We got way off from the question that I originally Let's go back to that. Was a good talk. I'm good. I want to go back to some of these though. Again, the question for anybody that was listening half hour ago when I talked about it is what is a major change you would like to see with commercially available substrate in the hobby? Another one was a pre-made sand soil mix for overall better quality. That's a little tricky because people like their mixes on soils and sand. Like it's very iffy depending on the person. They want it their way, but I would agree some good mixes would be nice. That way people aren't going out buying the wrong stuff. Brian also said, plus getting rid of calci sand. That stuff should just be chunked away.
And hot rocks, like just
calci sand and hot rocks. Just
go somewhere and die.
Just throw them away. Drew Schultz said this one will be interesting for someone to do. Large quantities of clean leaf litter available from retailers. Tired of paying $10 to $20 for a gallon Ziploc bag of oak or magnolia leaves.
There has to be something with the sterilization process that's expensive.
No, it's just hot. It's just heat. You just
heat or cold. I know, but why? I don't understand why they're so expensive.
Because you can pay. You can get it
because people will buy it. I guess
at a show, people will pay that much for a gallon Ziploc bag of that stuff.
Yeah,
but yeah, if you, I kind of agree though with Drew. Like that would be nice.
Let me mention the flip side of that, and I have no idea about what it takes to collect up leaf litter, put it in a bag. It seems very easy on the forefront. But like anything, if you want to do it right, and we start talking about sterilization, and you're probably then looking at you probably want a complete type of leaf. You don't want like any other, like, I don't know how in depth it goes, but I'm sure you don't want fragments or dried leaves crunching up in a bag and stuff like that. So then you're talking about preservation prior to packaging, shipping, and then all that other stuff. There's a lot of costs into something that seems as simple as that maybe not everyone is just completely aware of it. So that's something to think about. Yeah, we all, I mean, like buying coconut is pretty simple, right? You could go on Alibaba and bring in coconut all day long, right? But there's a little bit more that goes into it if you want a replicable, great quality product. I only say that to say that we always have competitors come into the market, and they last about 6 months, and then you'll see them cut out because of one of those things. It's not as easy as it looks. There's a lot kind of going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Even now, if you're trying to ship something simple, like you're not shipping anything in a box for less than $10. If you're putting in a box and it's going down the street, it's going to cost you $10. So those are just some things to think about when we. I do it too. I see stuff on. I'm like, why the fuck does that cost so? Well, there's a lot that goes in that's kind of, not transparent.
Yeah, I agree. That's what.
Katie just carried your block upstairs.
Oh, good. My Reptichip made it upstairs. That's good.
That'll probably cost $10.
Chris Burns said that he wanted self-cleaning substrate. That would be nice. Ryan Cox said, and this one's gonna be a little iffy here. Said less coconut. I would like to see hemp stuff long term. We claim to love the planet, but oil plantations are deforesting most of Indonesia. So
You're talking about a different palm there.
That's what
You're
I
talking
thought.
about. Yeah, that's not coconut. You're talking about like
that's palm nut, right? That's
palm nut plantations. Yeah, that's which is a legit thing in Indonesia in particular. But yeah, you're talking about what is that chocolate nut thing that all the Europeans go crazy over? You know what I'm talking about? That no, I'm gonna have to look it up.
I don't know.
I'm Googling it.
So you're gonna have chocolate
I'll
nut
go.
for Europeans?
I'm really afraid of what I'm going to get.
European chocolate
Like
nut.
what they make Nutella out of?
Nutella.
Hazelnut?
Hazelnuts?
Yeah, hazelnut.
I love
Boom.
hazelnuts.
Boom.
Yeah.
I know someone who's
That's
allergic
what
to
we're talking
hazelnut.
about. Nutella and all that.
But because the coconut is pretty environmentally friendly. That stuff grows
yeah,
quickly.
it's all replenishable several times a year. Yeah, absolutely. And you're using indigenous population or third world country labor to develop whole industries behind it. You're pretty. I want to say you're pretty positive in the eco-friendly world. The only thing that you are negative in is once you put it on a ship and ship it over.
Yeah.
To our benefit, though, when we pack containers, we compress that same product into as much. We absolutely maximize space in that. In fact, we have like some of the heaviest containers that are shipped just because we are, it's all compressed and it's all filling up the container. So that's where you're kind of carbon negative along the route. But when you're talking about renewable resource, you're not talking about, like cypress or something like that. I mean, cypress is like you're looking at 30 to 60 years for a cypress grove to, grow back in the same amount of space you've produced, like something like 10 years of coconut. So.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that from previous interviews that I've heard you do about coconut being pretty replenishable and all. So yeah.
Definitely.
Are you seeing what I'm seeing? I know you're bound to with the shipping issues. I mean,
we're knee deep.
getting killed.
We're and just to put that out there, like I'm trying to talk to people without scaring people, but cost of coconut is going up significantly. We're paying I'm paying money now that our retailers were paying, a few months ago. So, and that's, 2 or 3 levels kind of down the distribution network. So, to put it in perspective, the cost of everything is skyrocketing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Inflation's unreal right now. If you're in business, there's no way that you haven't been affected by it. Some businesses less than others, but if you're relying on anything in whatever, China, overseas, shipping, petroleum, anything really. So you've got that, and then we also have, we've got ocean freight, which is significant, which is about 3.5 times the cost of what it was 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We've also had some manufacturer price increases because they've been eating the costs since COVID hit. Our manufacturer in particular is, it's a great organization. Like when COVID hit, the island of Sri Lanka locked down, and instead of saying your workers can't work and everybody because they're we think we're in a bind for money here. If you're not working, you're literally starving. They started building houses at the manufacturing facility and on plantations so workers could still work there. I know it sounds a little backwards, well, what, the big company is going to, so you can still work. Well, no, this is doing your workers a solid, because otherwise they're struggling to live. They literally built houses on facilities out there.
Wow.
In the meantime. So they really give a shit about people and workers, and anyhow, that's kind of catching up. And I think they took the same method that we did as far as all these costs, because we've been eating costs for about 1.5 years and not passing it down to distributors or retail or anything. Just like, hey, this is great because we keep the cost same to everybody while our costs are going up. That means competitors' costs are going up, but we are maintaining our price. And now you have, and it would work brilliantly because you had a superior product at a lower cost than inferior products. And we were living the dream for a few short months. And then we had some significant price increases that were like, well, either that or run a charity, and we have to still pay our employees and pay the overhead and everything else. So we have to raise costs a little bit, raise prices a little bit, just pass it on down the line. It can't, it's nothing that we can continue to eat. So there will be some price increases, and that's across the board. It doesn't mean just Reptichip. That means any coconut based, anything that's coming out of Sri Lanka.
Well, consumers are going to have to accept that across the board on everything.
Everything.
Because you start to see some people complain about, well, this costs so much more now than it did. That, yeah, everything costs more now. It's
all
not
your Chinese products.
These are the people that don't grocery shop for their household.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just going to tell you that right there.
I had that conversation with a customer the other day that he doesn't understand why I quoted him back in March a price for a rack, and he finally decided to buy it now. And I'm like, I know that rack was $1,000 in March, but it's $1,400 now. And he couldn't understand. And I was like, where have you been living, dude? I mean, how do you not know?
It's not a price gouging thing. People have got to go up because it costs more.
Not at all.
Charging more and making less.
Everything.
That's exactly it. Is when it goes to the consumer, it hurts.
Yeah.
And you hear it. I mean, we hear we hear it all the time. The weird part is we're trying to do all the little things that we can to make it not hurt as much, whatever it is. If it's we're opening up new warehouses in different parts of the country so that the cost of shipping is less to people, or for our distributors, whatever that is, or giving them more value out of quicker shipping, whereas 2 years ago it wasn't possible. But any place, anything that's reliant on interstate transfer, LTL, FTL, anything that's coming out of ports, anything that's being sent from overseas, any place overseas, all of that has huge significant costs. And more than likely, the business that you're purchasing from is making less money because they are probably having to raise prices. They're probably making the same amount of money to keep the business in business. But when you're looking at larger businesses, it's not about the actual sheer profit. It's about the margin that because those businesses operate off a margin. And when they are adding, so say I'm a Reptichip vendor and I make $2 off of a block every time and now my price goes up 20% and I'm still charging 20% or $2 a block. Well, I'm not making the same margin that I was before. I might be making the same amount of money, but I've had to outlay a lot more money to make that happen. So that's the sheer bottom line of it. Your businesses are probably making a lot less money than they should be making in order to keep the lights on, especially at our level. Like even our most, the biggest names in the industry, probably, not flourishing. There's some companies doing very well, but they're not profiteering off of what's going on.
Well, that was someone in our chat said, the food service industry has raised prices 10% when prices for them have actually gone up 23 to 40%. So it's a 10% increase for you as the customer, but they had to increase far more to be able to produce that same thing for you.
Right.
And it's the same across the board for everything. So I think people are going to have to realize that's where we're at right now. It will hopefully not stay that way, but it will probably get worse a little bit.
I do use this term. This is the new normal. It's not going back.
No.
Yeah. I mean, it's
my PVC supplier has been in the game for 30 years. And when he tells me something, I believe it. And he and I, we talked for about an hour today, and he's scared.
Yeah.
Like, because he's not just PVC. He's a huge plastics manufacturer, distributor. He said ABS plastic. We're about to see a huge nationwide, worldwide shortage of ABS. And that's what 95% of consumer plastics are made out of. It's why I can't find rat rack tubs right now. And he said, and what we do have is going to double in price.
Yep. I 100% see it too. This is a long time coming. This isn't just,
Sure.
This is just all of a sudden, if anybody kind of had an ear to the market or was watching what's going on in the way that we're doing business or how reliant we are on, China, for instance, or,
something is now the richest country in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Whatever. I mean, it is what it is. We can all gripe and bitch about it. In my industry, the concern was, okay, well, we're going to have consumers turn to less expensive material. Maybe people go back to aspen or paper or whatever, not thinking that, we kind of did a dive on it. We're like, okay, well, what does that look like? Well, paper kind of ruled out because the only people that you're going to pay more in labor now if you're at that point. Now, if you're taking care of your own animals and you want to spend 3 hours changing out paper every day, that's cool. But you're not like, I can't bring on anybody into my business and have the expectations that I already do for less than $20 an hour. Like, that's like, those are my level of expectations, and that's kind of a baseline. And I want to take care of people, but there's not a lot of solid workers out there.
Yeah, because you could easily go hire 2 people for the price you pay for one, but you're not going to get the same work ethic out of the one.
I want quality, and that's why I only hire within the industry, like people that I know, people that I've developed a relationship with, and sometimes that's tough because sometimes I've done that, not only just my employees and stuff, but also we do contract work, or if we need like building stuff done, like whatever it is, like I always go to the network first, just because we want to be that person. Like we're investing back in the community in multiple ways. Like if you have a side job is doing gutters and I need gutters, well, guess what? I'm gonna give you the first shot at it. That's burned us a little bit, but in the end, I think that's an important. I think we keep everything in house when we can.
Yeah, like, well, no, I'm not going to talk about that yet. Shit, I was going to talk about something else that was very relevant with this, and I don't remember what it was.
Well, I was looking at our other three answers to this question that we've started an hour ago.
Good conversations, James.
I know. I'm not upset about it. I'm just saying that it's the same conversation. They're all quality control. They want to see better quality control in certain beddings.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, the person actually found a chunk of glass in their cocoa bedding, which was not Reptichip, but quality control is an issue across the board. But I know that's a big part of when you decided what company to go with to get your cocoa from originally.
Yeah,
Quality control.
Our manufacturer overseas has done great strides in quality control. Now we'll still see we'll still see some rocks in the bedding, and we'll still see some strips of the plastic type burlap interwoven sacks that they kind of put the coconut into when they're gathering coconuts before the chipper and all that. The coconut strips off this strip, and it goes through, and they don't.
Yeah, because I've got a few of those. We talked about that, but I mean, you just pick it out of there.
Yeah, it's pretty common. But you have people like, hey, what the hell? I'm buying this for $30 a block or whatever it is. Like
there he is.
I've expected, and rightfully so. Harmless, just pick it out, whatever. But it used to be. So when we do big contracts like this, there is with any material that you're going into, whether it's, I don't know, you're doing mattresses or whatever, maybe some other raw product, there's a default rate that the manufacturer is like, hey, this is where we're at, and expect this amount of default, meaning product that's not up to par, just because of whatever industry you're in. Like might be spoilage, might be whatever it is, breakage. Ours is our contracts for 3%. So 3% of all products could have some sort of, and it might be, there's a dime size hole in the package by the time it gets to the consumer. So, I mean, it's kind of.
Well, do you want to,
right?
So that was a thing this week that you posted that I thought was funny. I'm sure you didn't find it as funny when you posted it, but the complaint that someone had about your product was that the plastic bag it came in had a hole. So he was not able to pour water into the bag to rehydrate his cocoa bag.
You are fucking kidding me.
Right.
But then
put it in a fucking tub, people.
But then he wanted a free block.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
I obviously missed this post.
Well, I kind of struggle with doing posting that kind of shit.
This is why I can't own my own business.
I'm not trying to blow people up or make fun of anybody. The whole reason I post that is, one, I kind of do a check-in of where we're at, because sometimes like I can think something and maybe it's not what general sentiment is, like maybe we're a little bit off base. So I kind of check in there. And then two, I also like to give people an idea of kind of a daily, man. Like I get messages like that, and I'm not kidding you, every day. Like we have some sort of like complete bullshit we will just throw out. And then we have we have legitimate complaints, and I'm like, well, fuck, we're going to take care of this, or we're going to take care of, I mean, I feel like we've come huge out of pocket to make sure that customers are taken care of. But then you also have the flip side of that, which is, I think is, either scams or people just with some sort of entitlement issue that's like
that was
you owe it to me because I'm like, what package doesn't have a pinhole in it? Or if you were pouring milk, I don't know, if you're pouring milk on a cereal and you accidentally poured too much milk and it got soggy, would you message the cereal company back and tell them you wanted a free box of cereal? I don't know. I mean,
Well,
that's what I thought of it.
I hadn't done I forget who it was that made a video at one point about how to do Reptichip in the bag like that. But for the longest time, I just put it in the tote that I normally carried it, and I just soaked it in the tote and let it expand in there.
This is where it bites me in the ass. So we did a video on how to do 10 blocks in 10 minutes. Like, so the breeders could do it. And we did it in a bag, but in a tub in the bag.
Yeah.
We did it in the bag just to show them, a quick way to do it. Never did we say this is the only way to do it.
And it won't work unless you do it this way.
Unfortunately, unless it's just like any other product that's out there, unless you stipulate every exact thing, and there's always going to be somebody that takes it wrong.
That takes it
or
literal.
Say, hey, you didn't say that I couldn't eat this, or whatever the fuck it is, and you're like when does common sense?
Oh, it doesn't have. I'm a high school teacher. It doesn't fucking exist.
Third grade. There's not common
The
sense in
part
third
about
grade.
this, I did a little research. I mean, before I go and put something online, like this person is a teacher as well. Yeah.
What?
That person fucking knows better.
Jesus.
I see stupidity
Very
all day
Joseph.
long. I know not to repeat stupidity from myself.
Again. More.
So then it has even more meaning to me. I'm like, well, fuck, if this is what we're like, somebody commented on there about critical thinking skills are out
They're
the window.
giving us a
I'm like,
bad name.
that's not even critical thinking. That's just thinking skills. Like,
Right.
That's just basics. Like, do we have to follow exactly what one video showed you? We can't think beyond that in your teaching our youth. I'm like, this is not,
It's
not okay.
I tell folks all the time, the scariest part about teaching high school is I see the future of America and I'm fucking horrified. Look, I had an assignment written on the board. It said, make a 20-question multiple choice test with A, B, C, D answers. Right? Every class I got asked, can I do true, false? Motherfucker, you can't do true, false. That's not A, B, C, D, B.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyways.
That's what I feel in my inbox every day.
Yep. Me too. I get at least once a week. I get how much for this rack
With the price right next to it on the website.
Yep.
as a contact form from the website.
Well, I love the one where the woman sent you.
That's
Hold
what
on.
gets me too. Is
Yeah.
contact form from you've been on the website. You're not emailing me cold. You've been on the website.
And they're
Right
like,
there.
well, it says that rack's $125. And I'm like, that's for the one tub. If you want 6 tubs, it's $600. But it says 125. And I'm like, click on tub configuration, choose 6, and it changes. I don't understand.
Oh my God.
I've seen the ones where they've sent you the picture, the screenshot with the right price.
Yeah.
How much is this?
Yeah.
The fuck's wrong with you?
My favorite is what's your best price? That's the best price.
That's why I put it on there.
Right there.
I thought-
You should up it by like $200. Be like, this is my best
My
price
best
for
price, but
you.
you pay double. That's the best for me.
That's what I
Like-
did with animals back in the day. Hey, what's your best price on this? You give them $200 more.
Yep.
I'm like, I thought you said this. Oh, did I? Okay.
That's what, no, we didn't say who it's the best for. It is the best for me.
Pretty sure that snake is hit for normal as well. So the price went up.
Oh,
Jeez.
it's scary. But as a teacher, all I'm saying is there's 2 more days left.
Shit, have y'all tried to buy a turkey yet for Thanksgiving?
No, we're not buying a turkey.
Uh-uh.
$50 to $60.
Fuck that.
My mom already bought
I'll
it.
go buy some sliced turkey, make myself a sandwich. I'll be good.
And
Yeah.
my mama bought my ham already too.
But
So I'm
I can go to
good.
Bighorn Barbecue and get one smoked and ready to go for $49.99. So guess
Hell
what we're
yeah.
doing?
I saw a turkey sitting on a shelf the other day. Not like in the freezer, but just sitting on a
That's 'cause they got
fucking
this-
shelf.
Somebody put it in their basket and
And
was
saw
walking
the
around and saw
price.
the price tag and went, fuck that.
Oh,
Sitting on the shelf.
no.
I was like, that can't be good.
No.
But yeah, as a teacher, we're counting down. We got 2 more days. So I realized that there's 2 types of people. When you're counting down to something. So for us, it's counting down to Thanksgiving break. There are the ones that you wake up that morning, say, I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning. I wake up tomorrow morning. There's still 2 days left till Thanksgiving break.
Nope.
There's tomorrow and Friday.
Nope.
And then there's the people, I guess, like you that are wrong. They go, well, I woke up today. Today's already over.
As soon as I
Count
put
them up.
real clothes on, it doesn't count anymore.
I got to survive the day.
Nope.
I got to get through the day and deal with a
Nope.
bunch of stupidity. That
Once
counts
I'm
as a
at
full
school,
day.
that day doesn't count. It's already off my checklist.
Well, you're wrong.
That's, when I was in the military, I always got these damn stories. But I was in the military, being like a hard ass course, and you knew like you had 70 days in the course, right? And you literally have little boxes written out like on your little notebook. All you can get is like a notebook, and you have to write everything in there. It doesn't have like a calendar in it, so you make your own little calendar, and you have 72 little boxes. And you fill each box in. So as soon as you wake up, you like fill in a little box.
Yep.
Because the reason why is like as soon as you wake up, you fill in today's box because it's already over. Because you're always thinking, fuck it, I'll quit tomorrow.
See, my thought is, I woke up. I've got to make it through a full day without slapping someone's child. So that right there, that's a day. I got to get through that first.
No, I guess because one time at school, like I'm in teacher mode at that point.
Go teach high school.
No, I like my babies. I still get hugs in the morning. It's great. Although
If a kid comes to hug me, I'm like, go back the fuck up.
We initiated a new rule today after recess that there are no hugs after you've been running around outside because some of my third graders need to invest in some deodorant.
Also, a safe rule for teachers: no hugs from behind.
No,
that's an important rule. No hugs from behind. I know it's not okay. That's what I'm saying. That's an important rule.
So, are we still talking about betting?
No, I was going to go to.
No, I had something to input, and I was waiting for you to be finished.
You could input.
I would love for things to be more hypoallergenic.
Cocoa betting.
I know it is, and that's why I like his product because it doesn't make my eyeballs itch and make me want to gouge them out.
Yeah, Aspen makes me want to kill myself, but
Yeah.
I still use it. But I started using.
There are people allergic to coconut.
Well, those people suck.
I know, and so that sucks for them, but I'm not.
It took me 2 years to realize, like somebody was like, "Hey, I'm itching." Like, you got a cat? You know, like I didn't know that you could even be allergic to coconut. But there are.
Oh yeah.
I still use Aspen, but this year I switched over to the stuff from the Aspen that what's his name sells.
Oh, the
stuff you fuss at me when I use.
Yes, because it's not expensive, but it's not
Excelsior.
Excelsior, that thin. It's got no dust in it.
It's nice.
I know.
It's in my bearded dragon cage at
It's
school.
not like that giant. It's not like that giant bag of shit you get from PetSmart in the small animal section. That every time you open it, just dust fills the air.
I get yelled at a lot when I use the Aspen out of that tub.
Yeah, because it's like, good Aspen.
Sandy chips.
I don't have that one.
Remember Sandy chip? Do you guys ever? Did you ever use Sandy chip?
Never used it.
I was given
confetti. Like
Yeah.
no, like glitter except Aspen.
Yep. I was given a Samboa that wouldn't eat from a lady, and it was on Sandy chip, and I'm like, I got an idea of what I won't eat, and I put it on regular Aspen, and it ate from me the next day, and I still have it. No, I don't.
Sandy chips.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But that was the thing.
Well, that used to be the substrate, right?
Yeah,
like,
that was the thing. It was don't use the
it.
cheap shit from the pet store. Get Sandy chips.
Yeah, it was like cross-cut Aspen that's like literally like millimeter squares, and once you move out of a place, you realize how much it's permeated your house because it will be everywhere. I realized at that point I was like, no, it's got to be something better. Sandy chips.
I do remember that stuff.
Wow.
So our other question, this is the one from JT, said, what have you done today that makes you better than you were yesterday? And there were some interesting ones, and then there was my stepdad.
Today's not a good day to ask me that question.
Ryan Cox, this is a little a longer one, but he said Ryan Cox is also the one that won our giveaway last month. Said, I let a deer walk away from me while in a tree stand. Now, why it made me better, I realized the little buck had a rack just like the one his father had killed. Very asymmetrical. He got to see the lineage at work and how the local phenotypes appeared, kind of like how we see populations of wild Annery corns in Florida or pockets of genetic striped retics in Indonesia. It's not a one-to-one scenario, but when I was watching it, those were the thoughts of my brain. Missed on summer sausage, but gained some understanding.
Cool.
It's cool. Emily Amonette said, I didn't whine about having to adult and go to work. good job, because I wind every day on my way there, and I'm the only one in the truck.
Well, yeah, that's a tough one. Sometimes that's tough not to do.
Oh, it's tough. Drew Schultz said, took the time to slow down and enjoy my animals for a few minutes. It's really easy to forget, especially with a large collection, especially when it's your job. When it's your job, it's very hard to slow down. And
I remember times just sitting in the snake room and being like after everything's clean, after everything's done, lights are out, it's probably late at night because that's the time that you have. Sitting in my snake room and going, holy shit, it's coming along.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling.
I've been there.
Those are the nights where James will come downstairs and he'll be like, "You should come look at my snake room." I'm like, okay. And I'll come upstairs and he'll show me everything that he's done. Yeah. No, we have a few of those nights every now and then.
This one is from my dad. I added to my streak of not giving in to the temptation to beat the hell out of stupid people.
That sounds like
sometimes that's all you can do, right?
I have to say something.
That's it. That's your limit. That's success.
I didn't slap somebody today. Yes.
I scrounged through every piece of scrap I had in the shop today to build a rack for a guy that desperately needed it. And I'm right at the end of the lead time. He just messaged me, "Hey man, I forgot I'm going out of town next week. Can you wait until the Monday after Thanksgiving?"
Fucker.
I'm like, damn, sorry, man. I mean, yeah, I can, of course, but I'm like, I said, but you need to remind me because I'm going to have a shitload of PVC coming in and I'm going to be balls to the wall and I don't want to forget. I'm like, I mean, I was like measuring pieces. Okay, it's okay, it'll fit on the CNC. I mean, it's perfect for that, and got it built today and boxed up, and so that's fine. It's done.
It's done.
There you go. You can check that off
you're
your
ahead
list.
of schedule.
And the only reason was because he didn't need tubs. He bought it with no tubs, and he was one I was supposed to deliver to in Amarillo.
Gotcha.
And couldn't go to Amarillo, and it's only a 3-tub little bitty thing, but yeah, I was like, damn.
Sean McCarthy said absolutely nothing, just as bad as I was yesterday and the day before. Sean Gray said taking a day off. I know
Good for him.
feeling under the weather.
I know at 1 o'clock.
I think that's big, right? That's a big deal when you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I haven't taken a day off. I can't remember long.
Yeah, me either.
But that's like the discipline to do that. Like I think it kind of changes. Like after you do this for so long, and you're like, or you're in your own business for so long, and you're constantly grinding, working. It's like it's second nature. And then you start saying, "Oh, hey, I got to take a couple hours and just be," and that's like it's almost like that's a victory where you're like, I'm gonna fill in like whatever you want to do, sit by the pool or not, or veg out on the TV or sleep. But to take a day, in like obviously Sean is not somebody that's sitting around. He probably doesn't ever take many days to himself.
No,
probably
not in the grand scheme of what he does in a year. Not even close.
So I have a picture that I saw. It was something a friend of mine shared on Facebook, and I'm really bad about this. I'll be like, man, I did nothing. Nothing was accomplished today. And James is constantly telling me, but you did. You sat around and you rested and you sat, or we watched this off the box, or you hung out with your kid. Because in my mind, those things are not productive.
Oh, chores. You think you have to do chores all the time?
I like to clean them alone. Alternatives to I did nothing. I rested. I chose not to make plans. I recovered from the week or the day. I shortened my to-do list. I had a mental health day. I took a nap. I recuperated. I had some time off. All of these things are things that are important to us and our health. And that's for everybody. And we get so wrapped up in our businesses I'm freaking writing lesson plans while we're doing the podcast. Yeah. So, we get so caught up in everything that we forget that it is okay to do nothing. And
I don't ever forget that.
Okay, you don't, but the majority of the world forgets and does not have your sense of ease when it comes to taking a day to lay on the couch and watch TV.
I was talking to Stephen Howdy.
I physically cannot do that.
I can't. I can't. It drives him nuts because we watched The Masked Singer last night, and I cooked dinner while they watched it in the living room, and then I folded a load of clothes because I could not physically make myself stop and sit down and just be still.
But
Like,
would you want to get back there at some point? Because there used to be a time in your life where like that was relaxing. You could watch a movie.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
hang
we
out
don't ever watch.
Not
She
be
walked
on
in the
a
other day and I was
phone.
watching a movie. She goes, I wanted to see that. And I was like, if I wait for you to stop and watch
Never
this
gonna
movie
happen,
with me,
right?
I'll never fucking see the movie. That's why I went and saw Venom with
Yeah.
Robert and his family because Katie's like, I want to go see that, but I got to see the
I haven't
first
seen
one.
the first one yet.
I was like, if I wait for you to see the first one, I'll never see the second one.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
Sunday was the first day I had taken off in probably
wow.
4 months, and I was still on the phone.
Yeah.
100 times a day.
Yeah,
I'm going deer hunting this weekend with my son, and I fucking
good.
hope my phone doesn't work out there.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Because if
When's
it
the
works,
last time you haven't been on a phone? Like for
This
a day?
summer.
For a
We
day?
go,
For
we,
you.
well, we go to an all girls summer camp. My daughter and I do, and I work while she's the camper, and I don't have signal on top of the mountain. So, like when I call to check in with him, I have to call from the phone in the office to his cell phone because I actually know his cell phone number. Because I have no signal on my phone. I have no internet unless I'm using a computer that's in the office. And I walk around and take pictures.
Talking
all
about
day.
taking time off for yourself, I was talking to Stephen Howdy this weekend at the show. And if anybody's friends with Stephen or Ashley on Facebook, you will realize they have a boat. I don't know if anybody realized they have a boat.
They scare me with their boat.
But it's in every picture every other day. But I was talking to them. They take one day a week and they go out on their boat and they do like non-cage building focus cube stuff. So that's how they do. They have that one day a week where they go out and they're gonna relax. They're gonna go have fun.
Really?
Well, that's like right after we had Joe, we were like, okay, this night is our date night because we weren't having time for each other. And I mean, we should get back to that. But
And then we still have a kid. So
I know.
if we just got rid of the kid, we had tons of time for each other.
No.
Well, that's important for couples, right? You gotta have a date night once a week. Like whatever it is. Like even if it's only 3 hours, you gotta have date night.
Yeah, you try to get the kid to.
I woke up and cuddled with you this morning before you got out of bed. Does that count?
No, I was asleep. It doesn't count. Doesn't count if I'm still asleep.
No, you gotta have date night. It's gotta be night. It's gotta be.
I don't remember the last time we went on a date.
It's normally the grocery shop.
Doesn't
think
even
we
have to
went
be
to dinner
going
with you
out,
and
right?
Rachel,
It's
maybe.
like 3 hours just for you two.
Yes.
Yeah.
was Joe with us when we went for Rachel's birthday? No, it's just us four.
Yeah, I think it was just the four of us when we went for her birthday.
Yeah.
So
That
that was the
doesn't count
last
as
time I
date
remember.
night.
Why not?
It's gotta be. It's not a foursome. It's a twosome.
I mean,
We
there
didn't
are
fin-
some
it's not
rumors
finished
about
tonight.
us.
I know
Together.
people probably think it is, but it's not.
We did not finish the night together.
No, we did not.
So back
I
to this.
don't want to know when you finish, but
Lori. So Chauncey took a day off. Lori said she slept past noon and showered. That seems like a day. That seems like a normal day. I don't know what.
good. That's probably the day after her birthday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think
No.
no, that was the next
That was
day.
the
She,
next
she pretty much slept all day the day after her birthday. I
Brittany
think.
Patchett said she
Good.
showered. So I'm good job, Brittany.
Sometimes that's success. Like
It is.
Yeah.
dude, these are real answers though. I think your viewership is giving you some real shit. Like sometimes showering, like that's it. That's the best you're gonna get today, and that's success.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a book. It's based on a Navy SEAL. He
Yeah, like
wrote the book.
Like a deep blue, like seal, like a seal that
Shut
was
up.
blue.
The name of the book is Make Your Bed, Little Things That Can Change Your Life. Hands down, one of my favorite books in the whole world. But it talks about how
McRaven.
do what?
It's probably from Admiral McRaven.
Yes, he's phenomenal. Like listening to his speech is also great, but the book is great. But it talks about how if you accomplish nothing else in your day, you can say you made your bed.
Yeah.
And with the exception of this week, because this week has been rough. I do normally make our bed.
I don't-
Every day
don't
when I
get
leave the
making
house.
beds. I'm gonna get back in it, so I don't.
No, I need the
Uh,
no. It's gotta
Funny
be
you
me.
mention that. That's another guy I disarmed.
He would be a guy I would love to
Another
meet and just
awesome,
talk
awesome
to.
dude though.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
like listening to some of his talks. He seems like he would be a really cool guy to just sit and have a conversation with.
I think so. I mean, other than passing,
I have no- I have no military connection, so there's no.
Cool.
Like, I'm just a
I
civilian.
saw his UT speech and I, briefly talked to him overseas, but like he definitely seems like the kind of leader that most should aspire to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, but that makes me think of some of our responses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I ate breakfast today, which was a big deal for me. So
That's it. A win's a win. Like,
yeah,
at some point, like sometimes making your bed, that's the biggest thing you're going to have during the day.
And I guess because I teach third grade, and so I'm with 8-year-olds all day. And so some of my 8-year-olds are not the easiest to work with. And some of them have behavior plans in place because they are troublesome. And like I had one kid today who remembered to do one activity on his own. He accomplished it 100% by himself. And the girls that sit at his table praised him, and like his whole face lit up. He was so excited because they were proud of him. And of course, the whole table got to pick out the treasure box because it made my heart happy. But I mean, like it was great because that's what he needed. You know, this is a kid who doesn't think he has friends because he's a pain in the butt, and that's why he doesn't have friends. But he's learning how to be a decent human in my class. So tiny miracles.
Small victories.
That's where it starts, right? That's where everything starts.
I'm trying to get them okay by the time they get to you, James. Okay.
So I'll look at a couple of things that we saw that were on our Facebook group page this week. This was actually in the Reptiles magazine. I actually got the email today about there was a thing where they've seen male Montpelier snakes eating the females.
Yes, I read that article. It was crazy.
That seems counterintuitive, but apparently the males are eating the females. So hopefully that stops. There was also, I didn't read this one. Max posted, I need to go read it. Storms in Egypt unleash scorpions in people's homes.
Oh, jeez.
It just sounds like
a plague, right?
Yeah, some sort of plague that someone uncovered a mummy. That's what fucking happened.
Yeah. In the reptiles email that we got, it was also there were some tips on taking care of your snakes and your reptiles and like how to keep them healthy. But the photograph that they chose to use was actually, I don't know what kind of snake it was. It was yellow. But anyways, the snake it had mites, and I was like, we've heard so many people are battling with that this year.
Fucking mites.
That I was like, it's interesting that they picked that picture for the cover.
Also, I posted this one. It's important. Right now, over on Snakes and the Fat Man, he's doing a thing where it's a poll going on. It's a vote.
I love you, babe.
You have to vote for people that had the 15 minutes of lame.
You're never gonna win.
Shut up. 15 minutes of lame this past year on his episodes. I was on one of them. Whoever wins the vote gets a full episode. And my selling point to anybody listening and why you should go over to our Facebook page to vote for me is I won't fucking talk about ball pythons. I'm the only one on there that he's going to have on that won't talk about ball pythons. So if you want a full episode of Snakes and the Fat Man where no one mentions a fucking ball python, go vote for me. I have to try and overcome Antoine and Miri, but go vote for me.
Good luck, brother.
I know, right?
So far, I've voted 4 times. 2 for you, 2 for Heidi.
I love you, Heidi, but I won't fucking talk about ball pythons.
Is Heidi up for it too?
Yeah, she is.
Oh, that's funny.
Should Heidi be on 15 Minutes of Lane? Like, I thought she had her own episode or something.
No,
she was on. Was she on the Hot Chicks episode?
She was. Yeah,
well, there you go.
She's already on the Hot Chicks episode. She doesn't need to.
Yeah, but that wasn't just.
Forget Heidi. She's about to get her own podcast.
I'm such a bad friend. Like,
ignore that I have one too, but
she's about to have a podcast that's gonna.
That's true. You can't really count her because like she's launched her own thing.
Yeah, so no one's counting for Heidi. Heidi even says vote for me.
That's just because you're gonna make her funny.
I'm gonna make post that says no ball pythons. Just like I'm gonna pick it like everybody vote for James. No ball pythons.
You're such a mess.
Victor said Antoine's hustling. I know Antoine's hustling, but he's going to talk about ball pythons. I need people to understand that. So, Ryan Gosling said he read a book called The Secret Social Lives of Reptiles, which, by the way, the cover looks awesome. It's a male gharial with a bunch of baby gharials on top of him because the male is the one that has all the babies. Like, not didn't have them, but he takes care of them.
He takes care of the baby.
And
like seahorse.
Yeah, except they're not popping out of him.
Oh, that's true.
But he says, I just finished reading the book recently and I really enjoyed it. It's interesting to learn about how much we are still finding out about reptiles and what we could discover in the future. I recommend to anyone interested in reptile behavior or just in general. I mean, let's be real. I'm probably not going to read that. Because
I probably will.
But you'll probably read it and then you can give me the cliff notes.
So we actually talked about that at the show this weekend. I was laughing because I didn't think I was going to get to be on tonight. So JT, being the wonderful, caring individual that he is, was like, well, we'll reschedule if you're not going to be there. I was like, no. But anyways, I told him I'm really just here to like ask the stupid stuff that non-reptile people think to ask.
Stuff.
It is to me. But and then like, I'm like, what books have you read lately? And he brought up a good point. He's like, a lot of people don't read a lot of books anymore, but they are reading blogs, or they're checking out websites, or they're reading articles that come across to them or have to do with their line of business. So feel free to share those as you find those, and definitely, and
Katie will read them.
Yeah, most
and then
likely.
she'll tell me about them.
Pretty much.
So JT, there's some questions I want to ask you. I forgot to ask old Jared Dole last week, but I want to try and ask every week. So I'm gonna ask you a few questions, and none of them are who would you kick in the balls, Chris.
I got a list of those.
It's not the lightning round. Okay.
No. I'm not gonna ask who do you hate or what. Anyway,
Who did that? Who's
He
who would
hates
kick in
you.
the balls? Who was that?
that's Chris every week.
Is
Week, one of his questions are who would you kick in the balls?
Would you kick in the balls? That's good. Okay.
It's good to know.
All right, here's one. What is the best advice you have been given in the hobby?
In the hobby, not in life. I feel like we should like email these questions to our listeners
on the
beforehand
spot.
so they're not
No,
on the
on
spot.
No, it's good. I like it. I think I don't remember if it was in the hobby or it was just in entrepreneur. Well, like or
That's
business.
kind of the same.
Starting off.
For you, I feel like that would be the same.
I think it was always. It was. I'm paraphrasing. It's follow your vision. Trust in yourself. It was at the time. It sounds like just like any other generic, whatever. Like, hey, trust in yourself. Follow your vision. Do what you need to do. But like, if I had actually done that, if I had truly followed through with exactly the way that I saw things or exactly what I wanted to do, I think about where we would be compared to where we are now. And I feel like we would be further. So when you think about what you want, and when you're making a break from maybe doing a 9 to 5 or doing whatever your regular job is, and you're all in with something, I think going all in has a lot of connotations. I mean, it means financially, it means like motivationally, it means like you're committed to following something through. Trust yourself a little bit more. At least that's what I would think is really rely on what you envision and think that you want for your company. Don't jump at some of the early first things that sound promising. Maybe just continue on the way that you're going, because that's where you're going to still want to end up, and you don't want to take any other paths along the way, like straight line. That's the goal. So don't know that 100% answered your question.
No, it does. That totally does.
Yeah.
I mean, because that could be, I think that's also a lot of people's problem when it comes to wanting to start a breeding business. If not a business, just a project. People get halfway through and they decide to chase something else, change something else. But if they stay in the path.
When it comes to like breeding projects, like I'll tell you where the money is. The money is finding somebody that's 2.5 years in and buying out their collection.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what we talked to Mary. Mary's big into the Monarch, and that she's become known for Monarch. She's not straying away from it. And that's the thing. Become known for that thing.
Right.
Be the person that's known for that thing, because that means that thing you're doing is good. and people respect that you did it right. Don't be known as the guy that did this and then did that and then, but you're not actually known for anything. No one's coming to you for it. So
The other thing on that is, if you're thinking about Monarch, understand that Ultramel
it's better.
is better.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
that's where Mary went wrong.
That's a true fact. That's
Oh my
Other than
God.
that, I think if you,
Next
if you take
Well,
those two things,
Zach
like,
has a
Next
Follow your
question.
vision.
We're not
follow
starting
your
a feud with
vision and Ultramel.
ultra. Yeah, that's
You can't
I think
really
that
go wrong.
sounds great to me. Here's one. What is the worst advice you've been given in the hobby?
Ooh.
You didn't have to take it, or maybe you did take it.
I don't know about advice. I mean, there's lots of. I think worst advice would be following any sales. Like everybody's in sales and everybody wants you to buy their product. I mean, I've learned some hard lessons. We went in. I'll share something that I don't think I've shared before. We went in with a cutting edge SEO company, like search engine optimization with a website build, customized, like supposed to be the cream of the crop. Over a year, paid them over $100,000
Damn.
and had zero actual
Ugh,
return on that.
that's rough.
And
Yeah.
ultimately had
turned.
ultimately had the same website build and even a better return out of a company that does a lot more for, I mean, like you're talking about pennies on the dollar or maybe dimes on the dollar, but more around probably $20,000 or $30,000 all in over the course of a 2-year contract. So we there's a lot of hard lessons that came out of that. Probably too many to kind of get into
Yeah.
in depth about. There was so many lessons learned out of that, like trust but verify. If something doesn't seem right, like don't let it go. Keep going on it. And unfortunately, we were I was in the middle of the fire and a bunch of other stuff that happened. So we had that stuff kind of like doubling down and costing us even more money. Bad timing or whatever, I probably would have been on top of it a lot sooner had not, some other life crises come in. But if it doesn't seem right, like hit it head on, encounter whatever the problem is, still doesn't seem right and things aren't getting fixed, then alter your direction. Like, so I don't know if that's necessarily worst advice, but there's a lot of hiccups along the way. Here's the thing. Every company, we've wasted, I couldn't even recount how much money and time that we've wasted just learning where our path is, like, or what the right thing for us is. That's just the nature of the beast. I think that's finding yourself and finding what's important and finding what your company ethos is, and also finding out what works, what doesn't work, going down some wrong paths. That's going to happen. One of the big things is kind of forgiving yourself and, saying, hey, this is the path. This is what happens. And the bigger you get, the bigger your failures are. So, but there's no succeeding without the failures. So just try to correct as soon as possible, get back on course, forgive yourself, accept that that's part of your forward progress and always march on. There's not resting on laurels. There's not, oh, pity me. There's not, fuck it. I fucked this up big, because trust me, you haven't fucked it up as big as dropping $100,000 in a couple months and
Ouch.
zero, right? Like that's like, that was a year's worth of profit. So like, let's do some foresight and say, hey, look, yeah, fucking sucks. I fucked up big, but I'm going to learn from it. It's never going to happen again. And we'll never make that mistake. We'll keep going and we'll experiment with some other things.
Damn.
That's all you can do. And it works. Just take it on the chin, keep going forward.
Yes.
Yep. I would, if I could get back half of the hundreds of thousands of dollars I've wasted in the last 2 years trying to develop products. I mean, and failing, things like this shit is going to sell.
Yeah.
And they just sit on the fucking shelf and don't sell. But that has helped me hone in on what does sell.
Yeah.
And what works.
And, what was it worth it to get where you're at?
100%.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I cringe at the amount of money and time and effort that we've wasted to get to where we're at, but we didn't know another way.
Right.
Like that's what it took to get there.
The only, I think as an entrepreneur, I hate using that word sometimes, but
yeah, I do too.
You have to just, you have to have that mindset of, I'm just going to fucking do it.
Yeah.
And
you just do it and you learn
if it
from
works, it works. Great. If it doesn't, okay, we'll do the next thing. That's why I tell people, there's people ask me, when they're going to start a business, there's a couple of questions that I ask them, and depending on what their answer is, I tell them it might not be for you. Because if you're risk averse, owning your own business is not for you.
No,
at all,
it's not.
at all. Because you'll end up with indecision paralysis and
analysis paralysis.
That's right.
I'll be right back though.
Yep.
So while he's gone, I do want to hit on one thing, because he talked about spending all that money for the website. I'm working on a new website for us.
Oh, really? Do we have a website?
We do have a website. It's not up yet.
Okay.
And Heidi's helped me out with this. We're going to have a website for all of our different podcasts, but we are going to have it will end up being the Reptile Gumbo Network website, and then the Reptile Gumbo podcast and In Blue Reptile podcast will be on there. I also have another one coming up called Pint-Sized Reptiles, which will also be on there.
It's just pint-sized reptiles. There's no in the name.
The Pint-Sized Reptiles podcast will also be on there. I'm also working on a merchandise store tied into it, so you'll be able to get shirts for all of them.
Woo, I can take that off my list.
There'll be shirts on there. You can get blankets.
A year and a half later, we can get shirts.
Pillowcases will be on
Awesome.
there. Flip-flops. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you'll be able to order.
Cool.
But I've got a whole week off during Thanksgiving. My plan is to have our websites up and running.
Hell
and
yeah.
our e-store up and going.
It sounds like a great plan, because you know what? I'm going to be decorating our house for Christmas.
So by the end of Thanksgiving, we will have that website. I've got it. I've started it. I will have it made for all the different podcasts. We'll have our e-commerce store up. So, but I don't want to say about it. We'll say by the end of Thanksgiving. We'll see what happens. That is my plan, is to have a website for all of us by the end of Thanksgiving. But it has been purchased. The domain has been purchased. It is the reptilegumbonetwork.com. So, there are no Speedos. Sorry, the place that I'm doing our e-commerce doesn't have Speedos.
Are you sure? Have you checked?
I have checked. There are no Speedos.
That's
got
to be Lana.
It's probably on. Okay, so let me get through my two more questions. We got JT back. Two quick questions. One, what is one tip you would give keepers to help them take better care of their animals? Some sort of like maybe something you do in your reptile room that helps you work faster, or just something in general that you think would help other keepers?
I would say look at, you're kind of, let's talk Python Pacific. Python specific. It's been decades since I've done colubrid, so kind of Pythons is where I'm at. In order to influence breeding season or collections or where your females are at, don't just rely on, typical heat, maybe even like the light cycle or anything like that. There's a lot of ways to manipulate your collection. Like you can control you're spacing out your breeding season. You can control where your females are going to start developing, and you can manipulate all of that. One thing that was a big, I don't know if you can hear that. My dog is just going crazy over here.
Robert looked at me because then he looked out the door because we have a pit bull who's obsessed with Robert every time he comes over. But she is in our bedroom downstairs with the door shut with our daughter right now. But he looked out the door to see if it was Millie.
I didn't know you could hear that. She's
and I was
just
like,
going
nope,
crazy.
it's not our dog this time.
Like, shut the fuck up, or
She wants attention.
yeah, no kidding. I mean, fuck what I said. Just yeah,
Still in the show.
attention over here staring at me. So there's a lot of other ways to manipulate your, follicular development cycle and everything. One of the big draws to Reptichip in particular was I was kind of delving deep into some of the other factors like outside of heat and maybe light cycle, you can go into feeding schedule is big, but also the biggest thing to me was humidity.
Yeah.
So, you could literally follow, if you're looking at ball pythons, for instance, you could literally follow an average cycle from Ghana or another ball python country, where you increase humidity at certain times of the year, and it's not a long parallel to go from what does increased humidity mean. It probably could correlate to increased rainfall, which correlates to increased crops potentially, which increases prey items, which increases python feeding, right? Like, so it's all a cycle. You can manipulate all of it, and you can do it using feeding, heat, humidity. Humidity happens to be my product, and that's why I was interested in coconut to begin with. Is
I found with my baby rainbow boas, when I was having a little tricky time getting them to eat, if I sprayed them down and then fed them, they were more likely to take the food.
What always got me is like early in the day with like colubrid breeding and stuff, like there's tricks, even though like nowadays, like the way we keep things nowadays, like you don't need tricks for colubrid breeding. Like you put them together and like you're getting 2 or 3 clutches out of them, like it's not hard compared to back in the day when we're just learning shit. And one of the tricks was like, hey, you increase humidity when you introduce a male to a female. Like we really got in depth with it, even though it was like not at all difficult compared to some of the.
Well, it's like now if it's a rainstorm, you put your snakes together.
Right. I'm seeing things like I remember being over there with a mister, like, okay, I'm introducing the male, I'm going to introduce some rain. We need to feel it. We need to bump up humidity. Like
JT, like, I am God. Here is rain. Turn down the lights.
Here's fucking corn snakes. We got the thunder in the background and shit.
It's like that system to have when you go to the grocery store. Remember, like some of the grocery stores that have the lights flash and the thunder sound, and the sprinkles on the fruit and vegetables.
And back then, I mean, you didn't have like MP3, you didn't have an iPhone and shit. You had like a DVD. You were like, ooh, we're gonna put in some Enigma.
It's you with a piece of tin making thunder noises.
How ridiculous, right? But like that was it. Like it was a science back then, and a little bit of art, and not really. You could just put all that shit together.
A whole Hollywood movie scene going on in his snake room. Cue the thunder. Cue the lightning.
Like you're
bring
playing
in the
God.
rain. Oh.
And but I think we, once we started experimenting with the humidity in particular, our collection responded very well, and we had, I don't remember, I have it documented someplace, but we had big increase in fertility rate and clutch rate. So that's a good piece of advice that I guess I would give to anybody that's in this game, is don't just follow the typical recipe of, whatever we're cooling down. Like I've even heard it like, hey, fall Tinley show, that's when we drop temperatures and we raise them up in the spring Tinley show. Like, okay. Sure. I mean, if that works for you, great. But like,
that's how I do my rubber boas. I quit feeding it in Halloween. I throw them in the cooler at Thanksgiving, and they come back out at Valentine's.
Oh, how fun!
There you go.
When does it start again? Because I'm not excited about that this year.
Thanksgiving. So next week they go in the cooler. Actually, I'll probably turn the heat off of them this week.
Well, after last year, he'll be a little more calm.
I'm better than that.
Say that.
Last question. What is one big positive you see currently happening in the hobby?
There's a lot. That
choose one.
I think, regardless of all the bullshit you see online or the infighting or all the, whatever, everybody's got their own opinions and they're like assholes. They're all bullshit. I think that we are a more cohesive force than we've ever been in the past. I think that we are more organized, even though we're not where we want to be. But I think that we've come a long way. I think that we've legitimized the industry in a huge regard. It wasn't 10 years ago that I would go to a feed store and say, hey, I'm looking for rat feed. And they would be like rat bait.
So you have rat poison. Is that what you're looking for?
Right. Yeah. You need rat bait. And I'm like, no, feed. And they're like, feed. Why do you need feed for?
You're feeding the motherfuckers.
Why would you ever want to breed? It wasn't even 10 years ago that was that redundant feed store. That's not like just one.
Yeah.
It was just unheard of. And nowadays, like just a couple of years ago, I was going for a hike at a place around here, and I hiked up one side of the mountain or hill or whatever we call it, rock here. And as I'm hiking up, I happened to hear a conversation of a kid on the way down that was talking about their ball python. I was like, oh, that's cool. And on the way down, I started hiking with a father and son, unit that was like, hey, what do you do? And told them what I did. And they're like, oh, hey, do you know so-and-so? Because they breed ball pythons too, or whatever pythons. I'm just thinking, like, what are the odds, right? Like, it's a lot more common than we think. Like, industry is a lot more common. We have a grip on it. It's becoming, every day is more and more mainstream. You see actors and actresses with reptiles. We even have we have some big names that use Reptichip. We've got NFL players. We've got legit Summer Rae and Instagram
You get Dwight. Dwight Howard has snakes. You can get Dwight Howard using Reptichip.
Dwight, who's Dwight Howard?
Which Dwight Howard? It's the center for this. Right now, it's the center for the Lakers.
Who's he play for this year? Because
Lakers this year.
Every year.
He's back to the Lakers.
Oh, is he buying from Miguel?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I know he does snakes.
Probably.
He's got snakes because he was on Tanked twice because he has snakes. He likes reptiles. So I was like, that's
we've
really
got.
cool.
I mean, but there's these mainstream, celebrities or whatever you call them, and unbelievably they use our product. I'm like, who would have thought? a coconut thing would be like a thing. They're like, no, we got to have Reptichip.
My favorite is the pictures of Betty White with snakes. There's several pictures
Betty
of Betty
White.
White
Yeah.
That is
with
cool.
snakes. I love that one. There's one of like her and Slash holding
Yeah.
a snake. It's like
Yeah.
the best picture ever. But all right, so we have gone past. I've had to pee for about 30 minutes.
I'm just getting hungry.
Yeah, I've already cut out a couple times.
So, JT, if they want to get a hold of you, so you talk about having a network of Reptichip suppliers across the country. What is the best way for someone to find the one closest to them?
Just go on reptichip.com and look under distributors, and there's a map. So you'll find
Awesome.
either your main distributor or a rep that's close to you. If you haven't, just call the one that's closest to you, and they'll tell you.
Awesome. Yeah, that's it. Like I said, there's a lot of little pet stores. I know No Drama Llama carries them. The Grants carry it.
Yeah.
Herbs carries it. A lot of the little pet stores are starting to carry it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, of course, like, caveating over what you said earlier is not that we are excluding pet stores, because we definitely want the mom and pops. Not that we're not interested in Petco, Petland, PetSmart, all that other stuff, but they kind of take a back seat to, the people that we know, the mom and pop stores, as we call them. Like,
Yeah.
That's who would really be interested in having our product.
So reach out to find out your closest distributor. Go visit the mom and pop stores, see what they have. Also spend money in mom and pop stores. Those guys need it right now, especially because they're dealing with price hikes and they can't deal with it as easy as the big box stores. That's for sure.
That's right.
Mhm.
That's right.
100%.
100%.
So reach out to them. As far as we go, Robert's going to have plastic soon. So if you need a rack, reach out to lsreptileracks.com.
And I'm going to tell you that I just got the numbers while we're sitting here on what that plastic's costing per sheet. You better fucking order it now, because it's ridiculously high.
I tell everybody the same thing. Order your coconut now.
Yep.
Of course, I don't want to run on it now, because
Yeah, I don't either.
I'll go dry. But like, literally, like you're looking at, in a few months, things are going to be significantly different.
Yep.
Yikes.
I'm probably looking, I would venture to say by the end of Q2 next year, I'll be up another 40% up on my prices.
But with that said, everyone's going to have to, or else they're going to
Everybody. If they don't, they're going to go out of business.
Yeah, it's everybody.
So, some of the bigger guys, they're operating still on PVC that they bought 4 or 5 months ago. So when they have to buy their next round,
That's when they're
going to have to.
It's still going to come. I mean, you can delay it as much as, like we try to do it. We try to delay it as much as possible. It's inevitable. It's going to hit.
So get your racks, your orders in with Robert. Get your rack. If you want to get a hold of us, it is the Reptile Gumbo podcast at Gmail. Ooh, that's our email at gmail.com, but on Instagram, Facebook, anything else. Oh, again, the website will hopefully be up by the end of Thanksgiving break. Next week, we are on Tuesday. We are back to Tuesday next week. It will be the three of us. We're going to have live call-ins. So if you What?
Because he gets his
I get my
PVC that
PVC
day.
Tuesday.
Shit.
We can do it Tuesday, but I may not be here.
I was going to say, if we do it Wednesday, I can just call in. It's not a big deal.
You can't call in and us have call. Well, then we could do.
Well, like I
internet.
could do
We
that.
can-
Yeah,
we can
we'll
work
make it
this out.
work.
We will
Later,
post
not
it,
live. Yeah.
but we will do live call-ins next week. So be ready to call in. We're gonna
Product
talk-
placement. Southern Star Reptiles.
All Star Reptiles.
Yeah.
Love it.
And In Blue podcast.
She said she liked your cup.
I'm sitting here doing the PP dance. All right. So thank you everybody for listening.
Warm.
We will be back at some point next week. Not exactly sure when. Thank you, JT, for being on here. It's
course.
been awesome.
Stick around for just a minute.
That is it. Goodbye to everybody.
See ya.
Fuck, dude, I left the